think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I think for far too long in this country, millions of people felt as though they weren't represented at all by the establishment media.
GB News was needed because there literally was no other voice. Everyone was saying the same thing.
GB News exists because there is a desperate need for fearless journalism that puts the people first.
GB News came on the scene as a disruptor, and it has always been a disruptor ever since.
The mainstream is all about keeping the status quo as it is, ticking along quite nicely. They don't want to ask difficult questions.
But journalism is journalism at the end of the day, and we're not here to serve any masters. Our masters are our audience.
Charlie Peters, he gave a voice to the victims of grooming gangs, and now, of course, it's led to a national inquiry.
GB News exists to make sure those concerns are put forward and people feel as though what they want to ask is put to those in power.
We don't take orders from anyone. We ask the questions our viewers and listeners want answering.
I know what's actually being discussed by my family and my friends.
Us ordinary, hard-working British people have had enough. We've had enough.
They're fed up with the same old establishment nonsense. Everything that we do is opening up conversations that others are afraid to go at.
Why are you illegally bringing people into Britain?
That is our job. Our job is to get to the truth.
If it's important to you watching or listening at home, then it's important to us as well.
That's what makes us the fearless champion of Britain.
Hello, good afternoon and welcome to GB News. We are live on TV, online and on digital radio. It's 3 o'clock. I'm Nana Akua. And for the next few hours, me and my panel will be taking on some of those big topics that are hitting the headlines right now. This show is all about opinion. It's mine, it's theirs, and of course it's yours. We'll be debating, discussing, and at times we will disagree, but no one will be cancelled. Well, joining me today are broadcaster and columnist Lizzie Cundy and political commentator Fahima Mohammed. Coming up in my nickel.
If you stick a pole and a Union Jack tomorrow outside your house, I think you're making a statement. And I think that statement is probably that you prefer Britain to be more white.
The Union flag and the St George's flag continue to be under attack from the left as well as some MPs. I'll lay out my thoughts on this and why we should proudly fly the flag in my niggle at 4 p.m. You won't want to miss that. Then for the Great British Debate this hour, I'm asking, is it time for the pro-Palestine protests to end? The Israel and Hamas ceasefire has now come into effect, yet the marches continue. But what is the need for them? My poll is up live on gbnews.com. Please cast your vote. Then in difficult conversations, I'll be joined in the studio by the CEO of Supracycling Global, Linda Ball, the Queen of Green, to discuss their biodegradable technology that degrades plastics under the ground between 3 days to 1 week, which they believe could be the solution to many of the world's plastic problems. Then later on, we'll be debating whether Brexit and Nigel Farage can be blamed for future tax rises, as the Prime Minister and Chancellor look set to use both reasons as an excuse to raise them in the up-and-coming budget. But before we get started, let's get your latest news with Aaron Armstrong.
Thanks, Nana. Good afternoon to you. 1:01 here in the GB newsroom. Our top stories: hundreds of thousands of pro-Palestinian protesters have been gathering in central London to mark 2 years of the war in Gaza. A march is to start at Victoria Embankment before a rally in Westminster. Clearly, you can see that behind these people in the pictures. Placards in the crowd reading, "It's not a crime to act against genocide," and "Free Palestine." A counter-protest by Stop the Hate is also taking place on the Strand. Police have put measures in place to prevent any clashes between the two groups. Activists from the pro-Palestinian side say they don't trust Israel.
Israel's violated every ceasefire agreement it's held, but we also come here knowing that Donald Trump's plan is not a pathway to an enduring peace.
We've been marching for the last 2 years for a free Palestine, not for a ceasefire, although a ceasefire is really good. They've called ceasefire before. It doesn't mean Palestine's going to be free.
With ceasefires in the past, they've only lasted a few days before the bombings started again. So I don't really believe that it's a true ceasefire. And that's why we're here today, because the war isn't over.
Well, rescue teams in Gaza have begun recovering bodies from ruined buildings after Israeli troops withdrew from some areas as part of the ceasefire deal. Tens of thousands of people have travelled back to what's left of their homes in the north of the territory as the fragile agreement between Hamas and Israel continues to hold. This drone footage captured over Gaza City shows the extent of the damage caused during one of Israel's biggest offensives of the war. Gaza Civil Defence Agency says almost 10,000 people remain unaccounted for. Well, aid trucks have now started entering Gaza from the Rafah border crossing in the south. They're carrying tons of food and medicine. The United Nations declared a famine in Gaza in August as a result of Israel's blockade of aid. Donald Trump says the US will impose an additional 100% tariff on Chinese imports, accusing it of taking an extraordinarily aggressive position on trade. The US president announced the move on social media, saying it was in response to new Chinese restrictions on exports of rare earth materials. The tariffs will commence on the 1st of November, according to Mr. Trump, and will also see export controls on all critical software going to China. It's emerged Sir Tony Blair met the convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein in Downing Street while he was Prime Minister. It's reported the meeting in 2002 was arranged after Lord Mandelson sent an email to Tony Blair's Chief of Staff describing him as safe. The former Labour leader's spokesperson says the meeting between the pair lasted for less than 30 minutes and took place long before Epstein's crimes were known of. French President Emmanuel Macron has reappointed Sébastien Lecornu as Prime Minister just days after he resigned. The country has lurched from one political crisis to another since Macron took a gamble on an inconclusive snap election last year. Parliament remains divided. There's no clear majority for any of the three blocs, and successive governments have been unable to reach consensus over how to tackle the national debt and the budget deficit. When Lecornu was appointed as Macron's third Prime Minister, it was his third since December. He's expected to form a new government and present a budget to Parliament by Monday. New estimates show almost 2.5 million people in Britain have ordered weight loss jabs. That is 1 in every 20 people. The figures obtained by the Daily Telegraph says that sales of Mounjaro and Wegovy have increased 7-fold from 500,000 the previous year. The Health Secretary has vowed to make weight loss injections widely available in the NHS, but tight restrictions mean only around 24,000 people will be eligible to receive those injections over the next 3 years. Finally, if you're travelling to Europe from tomorrow, leave early and be prepared for long delays as a new border system will be coming into force. The entry-exit system affects UK travellers going to the Schengen area, which consists of 29 European countries, including Spain, Portugal and Italy. The passengers will now have to register their fingerprints and take photographs to enter and are being warned to expect queues of up to 4 hours. That's it for the moment. More for you coming up at 3:30.
You can now watch GB News live across the United States of America and the world on Truth Plus. Scan the QR code to find out more or visit gbnews.com/truth.
Hello, good afternoon and welcome to GB News. We're live on TV, online and on digital radio. I'm Nana Akua. Coming up, we'll be live at the pro-Palestine demonstrations taking place in central London today. This is, of course, despite Israel and Hamas agreeing to a ceasefire. I wonder why they're there. It's almost like a knees up or a jolly every weekend. I've got a poll up right now on gbnews.com asking, is it time for the protest to end? Please cast your vote. Then for the Great British Debate this hour, I'm asking, should Donald Trump have been given the Nobel Peace Prize? after the White House slammed the decision not to give it to the US president for his part in the Gaza peace deal. We'll be discussing that. And it's been revealed that 2.5 million Britons are now using weight loss jabs, with demands skyrocketing. We'll be asking whether we have lost sight of teaching people about proper nutrition. That is all on the way. As ever, send me your thoughts, post your comments at gbnews.com/your say. Right, so it's 8 minutes after 3 o'clock. Good afternoon. Now, of course, again, in central London today, a day after the ceasefire agreement between Israel and Hamas, which came into effect, the demonstrators are saying they will continue until total liberation, whatever that means. Right, let's go live now to central London to the pro-Palestine protests with GB News' national reporter Jack Carson. So, Jack, how is it going? What is the mood like? And what are people saying the reasoning is for them protesting?
Well, hundreds of thousands of people, Nana, have been marching and continue to march through London today. They started out on Embankment, they've done a route all the way around, past and down the Strand, and now they're kind of just arriving on Whitehall. You can probably see over my shoulder Big Ben in the background, and all the way down this sea of Palestinian flags as well. There was a bit of tension before the march even kind of started, when there was a few protesters saying we stand with Israel that had gone into the crowd where the march was set to kind of start from, and then the police kind of moved in and arrested, and then, as we found out, de-arrested those protesters because they'd broken the public order conditions that had been set, very strict public order conditions set by the Metropolitan Police to ensure that both protests, because there is a counter-protest as well, a Stop the Hate counter-protest that these protesters marched by a little bit earlier on as well. Now, from people that we've spoken to, particularly Peter Tatchel, who's been here, of course, regular on the channel, but he told us that today for him was as much about a celebration as well as continuing to demonstrate, of course, for their aims. Some of the placards and some of the signs we've seen say things like "End the siege." Now, that is one of the things that they believe a ceasefire is not the end of this. For a lot of these demonstrators, it's about ending what they call the siege. We're not going to get some clarity on necessarily what the siege exactly means in that sense, but for the counter-protesters that have been here, of course, they are questioning why these protests are still going on, given the 20-point plan that has been approved by all sides. That, of course, mainly brought up from work from the US President Donald Trump. Now, of course, people have been coming here from all over the country. We know that 14 coaches have brought people all the way from as far as Cardiff and Newport and Bristol and Bath and other places like that to increase the numbers here at this protest, and of course, as they march on for miles. Let's see if we can maybe speak to a couple of people that have come on the protest. Would you mind talking to us just about why you've wanted to come here and protest today?
No, sorry, not at the moment, sorry.
No, it doesn't want to talk. See, would you want to talk to us why you've wanted to be here on the protest today and come out and be here on the protest?
Sorry, what?
Would you like to talk to us about no?
Thanks. Okay.
No. Do you understand why some people would say with the ceasefire agreed why this protest is necessary?
You ask someone who's a bit more confident than us.
Okay. Well, we'll keep trying to find someone for you, Nana, who can try and talk to us, maybe. Sir, would you talk to us? We're just wondering, a lot of people were asking, with the ceasefire signed, why you've still wanted to come and demonstrate today. Why are you here?
I don't even know who you are.
We're from GB News, just asking.
You're what?
We're from GB News, just wanted to ask, with the ceasefire now in place for 24 hours, why you've still wanted to come out here on the demonstration?
I've no wish to speak to GB News.
Okay, so not many people wanting to speak to us now to of course, explain, find out why they've wanted to come here today. Of course, we know from the words of one of the leaders of the Palestinian Solidarity Campaign, who are one of the organisers, part of the Palestine Coalition, who've helped organise today as well. There's a sense there's not say the greatest trust in Israel that ceasefire will hold. So they still say, in their words, their work is still needed to be done. So unfortunately, no one here wanting to speak to us to explain why they've wanted to come on this protest, Nana, but hundreds of thousands of people from all over the country have been here to protest this course today.
All right, thank you, Jack Carson. Possibly because they don't know or that they've got nothing better to do. Thank you very much, Jack Carson. That's Jack Carson, central London, at the pro-Palestine protest. And ironically, there are many European countries that actually banned these protests, including Palestine itself, which is the irony. Right, well, I'm joined in the studio by the chairman of the National Jewish Assembly, Gary Mond. Gary, why are they still protesting?
Because this has got nothing whatsoever to do with Gaza. It's got everything to do with Jews. It is fundamentally an anti-Semitic mass march of Jew haters. They're there because they're using Israel as a scapegoat and taking advantage of the whole situation. They're not there bad. If they supported the Gazans, they would be out there with posters of Donald Trump saying what a brilliant job he's done to try to bring peace to the area and try to bring the war to an end. They're not doing that. That's because they don't support Gazans in reality.
Well, I mean, there will be people there who would say that they're there to, you know, to rejoice at the fact that there's a ceasefire. There'll be those who are there who are saying that they are protesting because they haven't actually seen anything really happening yet, really properly happening, and Israel could push back. So those would be some of the reasons that people are using to be there, not necessarily anti-Jew.
Well, look at the posters. With great respect, they're screaming "Free Palestine," "Globalise the Intifada," murder the IDF, and so on. It's wishful thinking to think they're there to congratulate Donald Trump and congratulate those who have brought about the ceasefire.
But there'll be some there who may be misguided, believing that this protest is all about that, and the organisers themselves would say that that is actually, it's more about making sure that this peace holds, and not so much about anti-Jew hate. But there will be those there who are there specifically.
There may be a few who are actually there for those reasons, but I suggest that's a tiny minority. I fear that the hundreds of thousands who are there are not there for those reasons. They actually want to see Israel destroyed. That's their ambition. And they're certainly not in favour of Hamas giving up its arms. They want the struggle to continue. That's why they're screaming "Free Palestine" all the time. That's why they're screaming from the river to the sea. They want the destruction of the state of Israel, and we have to understand that.
Some of them might even just be there because it's something to do. They've got so used to doing it week on, week out. A little community of people have evolved. They meet each other. They stop at a coffee shop on the way. They're all having a little natter. That's why, I mean, many of the people who we, as you saw Jack stopped, wouldn't speak to camera, couldn't answer why they were there, or wouldn't answer why they were there. And many probably don't even know.
I think of course, with hundreds of thousands of people, for some people it will be a jolly. There's no doubt about that. But for many, the reason they wouldn't talk to your colleague is simply because they'd be ashamed to give the real reasons they're there.
Or simply, many of them don't know. Like when you've asked them from which river to which sea, they don't know.
Exactly.
When you ask them about, you know, Hamas, do you know they've been prescribed as a terrorist organisation? Some of them don't know. They generally don't know.
But what they should be focusing on is what the Gazan people actually want. Yes, they want the end to the war. Yes, they want peace. Yes, they want to hopefully develop their country, develop the Gaza Strip so it's a prosperous place and they can live successful and happy lives and not be in a situation where they're at permanent war with their Jewish neighbour.
I think it's shocking that there's what I would expect if they're going to do this would be, as you said, a celebration of the fact that this war has now come to a deal where there is an ending, the fact that Donald Trump has done such a great job in brokering peace, and the fact that there could be a wonderful opportunity for people in Gaza now to live happily and the Israelis to live happily. Why are they not saying that?
Look,
what are those
generally,
protests? Sorry, I'm just looking live on the screen now at the protests and the banners. Starmer has blood on his hands, people are putting up. Yet Starmer has recognised Palestine as a state.
Which is a very foolish thing to do.
I don't think I agree with it, but why would they be saying that if they want that? I think it's a very confused protest.
Yes.
There'll be people possibly protesting for veganism, people protesting for all sorts of things there.
Yes, and it's going to be interesting to see for the next few months, assuming the peace process can hold and develop, and many of the 20 points in Donald Trump's plan can actually be achieved. It'll be interesting to see to what extent these marches continue. They generally have to have a cause to succeed, and when the cause starts to die, their marches start to die. You may remember in the 1980s when the campaign against nuclear disarmament had those 1.5 million people on the streets.
Free Palestine.
Their cause disintegrated and their marches disintegrated. Let's just hope that happens here.
Well, I mean, I've just seen a Free Palestine banner. I've seen what looked like a CND banner, one saying something about Gaza.
It's essentially a combination of two groups, the Islamists and the far left. And that's always been the case. Those are the two groups at the base of it.
Which is odd, because actually, for example, if you look at how people who are homosexual are treated by a Palestinian state...
That's always been the case.
They're the far left.
I mean, never has been such a ludicrous organisation as Queers for Palestine. Absolutely crazy.
Are they not aware of how many people who are homosexual have been treated?
Yeah, thrown off tall buildings.
By that part of the world. And we're not even saying that it's something that couldn't be proven to be true.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm no fan of Tony Blair, but I would say that if he can bring about some good together with Donald Trump to the area, all strength to his elbow.
I'm not so sure about Tony Blair being involved in this one. But Gary Mond, absolutely, if they can achieve peace, then who would stand in the way? Gary Mond, really good to talk to you. Thank you very much.
And thank you for having me.
Thank you. That's Gary Mond. He's the chairman of the National Jewish Assembly. Right, well, it's just coming up to 19 minutes after 3 o'clock. This is GB News, and it's time for the Great British Giveaway. And make sure you don't miss out on a chance to become our biggest winner this year. So far, it's worth over £104,000. Here are the details.
There's just 3 weeks left to see how you could be our biggest winner this year with a prize worth over £104,000. First, you could be driving away with this brand new Benamar Primera motorhome. Worth over £74,000, this luxury vehicle comfortably sleeps 4, has its own fitted kitchen and bathroom areas, and comes complete with fitted awning and bicycle rack. And that's not all, as we'll also give you a whopping £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. Someone is guaranteed to win our biggest prize to date, so make sure that winner could be you. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. The winner will be contacted live on GB News, week commencing 10th November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Good luck indeed. Welcome if you just tuned in. This is GB News. We are Britain's #1 news channel. Still to come, my niggle. I'll be discussing the Union and St George's flags, which once again are under attack from the left. I'll lay out my thoughts on why we should be proud to fly the flag. But next, it's time for the Great British Debate this hour. And I'm asking, is it time for the pro-Palestine protests to end? This is GB News.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What does she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
2 guests we're very happy to see all the time, Patrick Christie's and Emily Carver, husband and wife, and their new little product, little baby George. Peter Alexander.
Close enough. Close enough. We won't quibble about the order. Yeah, this is baby George.
Congratulations, the two of you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. And what sort of birth was it, Emily?
The traditional way.
Was it easy?
I was induced a little bit early because they were worried that maybe he was measuring a little small, so they wanted to get him out, which did mean that it was very, very painful indeed. But I did finally get an epidural towards the end.
How much did you weigh? Sorry, I was going to say.
6.5 pounds. Yeah, so a little one.
Honestly, I was in awe of Emily. She basically did all of it on 2 paracetamol until right at the end. Yeah. It's incredible.
Yeah, but that wasn't because I wanted to. That's because the epidural took a while to arrive.
Yeah, it was incredible. I mean, to watch and just to be there, really. I felt very sorry for you, obviously, but, you know, it was...
But the staff were amazing. I had 3 midwives all sort of cheering me on. Push, push, push.
Oh.
And you? And, of course, him.
I was just,
and my mother.
I was supervising.
You were supervising.
I was supervising.
So how have you two taken to being parents? I mean, there you were leading this life, you know, and then little George comes along. Have you taken to it easily, or have you surprised yourselves, or...?
I think we've been quite natural with it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's still...
I mean, as natural as you can be. I mean, not to toot our own horns, but I think it's going pretty well.
GB News, the People's Channel.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, 23 minutes after 3 o'clock. This is GB News. I'm Nana Akua. And it's time for the Great British Debate this hour. And I'm asking, is it time for the pro-Palestine process to end? Thousands are once again marching in central London over the issue, despite the ceasefire agreement between Israel and Hamas now coming into effect, with question marks over what they are still protesting about. I am confused. Are you? So for the Great British Debate this hour, I'm asking, is it time for the pro-Palestine protests to end? Well, joining me now is broadcaster and columnist Lizzie Cundy and also political commentator Fahima Mohammed. Fahima, we'll start with you. Surely, now, they've got what they want, protesting week after week. I think they're having a jolly now. There is peace now. There's a ceasefire. Surely they should stop protesting.
Well, if you are to understand how this conflict has basically arisen, it's not from October the 7th, it's way before, and it still continues. And even with the ceasefire, I have seen footage of still Israeli bombing and attacking places in Gaza. Khan Yunis is one of them. So even after the ceasefire was announced, that is what's still happening, unfortunately. So that's the reason why people are still protesting, because this is until the occupation ends, not just the bombings, then only they will feel that this is something that they can actually be, you know, satisfied with, and they need to keep this alive for people to understand. I know that you might seem like this is a ceasefire, it's all happy and
the bombing
whatever.
Has stopped. I mean, Israel...
No, it hasn't. It hasn't, unfortunately.
But Hamas have been given the option to give back the hostages, so they're the ones that are dragging it out. Once the hostages are returned, then we will know that Hamas are serious, which is what has been asked of them.
But the bombing should have stopped with the ceasefire, and it hasn't.
The hostages
it hasn't. They will, and they are phased out.
They've said that
but at
before.
the same... Exactly. So again, no one can really say anything, as you just said. We've said that before many times. So until it's actually definite. And this is not a protest just happening in London. It is all over the country. It is all over the world.
We know.
You can be sick of it. But what about the people that we're actually giving a voice for, who are the voiceless, who need to be spoken about, because they are the ones that are actually suffering? This is not like, oh, it's just going to disrupt my shopping for a day. This is about people that are thousands and thousands of children who are being bombed every single day, even after the ceasefire.
Well, then perhaps Hamas would consider releasing the hostages far quickly than they have. Lizzie Cundy.
What about the Jewish community? What about the Jewish community that are scared to go into London, Manchester, Sheffield, where these protests are every Saturday, costing our Metropolitan Police 53 million? Instead, they're there at the protests instead of doing, you know, fighting crime on our streets. It's appalling. Let me give you some statistics. 47% of British Jews don't feel safe and they want to leave. That's a disgrace. We have got murdered Jews on our streets. Enough is enough. We have this every Saturday. What about the Jewish community? What about how they're feeling? They are leaving this country. They'd rather be in Israel than here. That's how it is. That's disgusting. I thought we were a nation that was understanding and caring. We're letting this happen, and Keir Starmer is letting this fester and grow. I am appalled. And they wanted peace. They wanted a ceasefire. They've got it, and they're still not happy.
No, at the end of the day, I do not condone anyone who is chanting against any Jewish people. This is not about the Jews. This is about the Israeli government. And there are 13 Jewish organizations that are marching on the street. That includes the Jewish Bloc, NAMOD, as well as the Holocaust survivors. So that is very unfair to sort of say that.
Well, tell my Jewish friends that. Tell the victims of those that were murdered
there's going to be constantly. No, I'm sorry. You cannot just say one thing. No, it's also fact that there are Jews on that protest, and if you've actually reported and seen it fairly, you would see that. And there are Holocaust survivors that have been arrested, that have been on those Palestinian marches, not from today, but from the very beginning. So this is absolutely incorrect for you to put that information out there.
1,521 attacks on the Jewish community just since January to June. You think that's great?
Anti-Muslim hate
956 incidents against Jews in London alone.
And that is matched by the anti-Muslim hate as well.
Why don't you protest about Iran? Have you heard what's happening in Iran? I mean, 39 women hanged for having a political view. Why don't you protest about them? And the murders and assassinations that's going against women.
We do with everything.
Don't hear it, don't see it.
Well, if you don't see it, then that's just your limited view.
Because every Saturday
at the end of the day,
they are protesting, and they've got the ceasefire.
Worldwide event that is happening. You cannot just condone that because you have a few friends that are talking in that way. I do not disregard them. But at the same time, there are also Muslims who are also on these protesters, who are also being targeted, who are also being attacked. But we only hear one side. It is a double standard here, and it's really not fair.
You should be thanking Donald Trump today, and those are the thanking Donald Trump. For doing this peace deal. Yes, you should, because it's down to him. No one else did it. And you should be thanking him, and I certainly am. And so are many of the Jewish community are.
We'll be debating Donald Trump very shortly. But look, Fahima, just as you're saying a few people of her friends say that the Jewish, they don't feel safe, it is the same when you're saying that, there are some people on the protest who are from this part and that part and this. In the main, Jewish people do not feel comfortable being around those protests. And in fact, if you heard earlier, there were some people who were Israeli who went to that protest and the police moved them away from them because apparently they're breaking some rules of the protest because they knew it was not safe for them to be in that part. So what you're saying doesn't really reflect the reality on the street of this protest.
No, because again, it's only being put forward on one side. What I'm saying actually does reflect reality. If you're just going to see with one lens and with one tunnel vision, then obviously that's how it's going to come across. It is.
It's about me just explaining what has happened at the
protest. So am I. I'm explaining exactly the same thing.
Well, what I've explained there, though, is that the people who were there on the other side were removed from the protest.
You're always going to find minority groups.
Well, therefore, this is why many Jewish people do not feel safe around these protests. So to say, but there's some Jewish people on there.
There's not just some. There's quite a few.
No,
there are quite a few. I just said to you.
No,
just saying no doesn't mean it's factual. I'm telling you it's fact.
I'm telling you that
so am I.
That on that protest today, the police moved people who were protesting for the Israeli side from the Palestinian protest. So that's there saying it's not safe for them. So, that's a fact.
That's a fact. And Keir Starmer needs to do something. We need our streets back. We need to do it for our Jewish community. How sad is it that every Saturday they don't feel they can go into London, Manchester, Sheffield. They have to go elsewhere. They don't feel safe. They don't feel safe. And that's the fact.
Do go.
I've just read the facts out and statistics that are true. So please,
I have Jewish friends too.
My Jewish friends want to leave this country. And every Saturday, costing, by the way, 53 million. How about that?
We had Gary Mond here, he's the chair of the National Jewish Assembly, and he called these anti-Jew hate protests. That's how he sees it. I did push back on it and said there'll be good people on there, but that's how he sees it. He is from the National Jewish Assembly that represents many, many, many Jewish people. So that is from him that those protests do not make...
Look, there are going to be several voices, but I can bring you 100 more voices that are Jewish who actually say that this should happen. And that's actually also from the people that are in Israel who are standing there with placards photographs of children and babies and saying Netanyahu should leave the government. So maybe we should watch more of Israeli TV, watch the ministers and the ex-ministers and the people that are on the streets that are actually protesting against the government. And here we have people that are saying that they're not safe when actually everyone's against it. So why are we so blindsided?
Well, it's a ceasefire. What did you want?
Do you not understand the ceasefire? Does not stop the bombing.
Listen, you seem like you've swallowed a dictionary today. Let someone else talk.
So have you.
Well, I want to say my piece because my Jewish friends want to leave and I don't want them to leave this country. We're a country of decency and this is going on every Saturday. I'm afraid the Jewish community are scared. There's been murder, 2 murders in Manchester. Wasn't that enough? And then there was a protest
been attacks on
like
the
2 hours afterwards.
They have been
disgraceful.
And on the same day,
what
there were 22 children bombed in
You have the ceasefire. You should be happy that there won't be this war like everyone else.
I'm talking about both. You guys are just talking about one, like one matters more. We are less. We are
all don't
we are
want
not
war.
the same
And
equal.
Donald Trump has got the ceasefire.
Right. That
you
is
should
not
be
right.
Well, listen, what do you think? gbnews.com/you'll say. Is it time for the pro-Palestine marches to end? You know what I think. 32 minutes after 3 o'clock. This is GB News. Still to come in my niggle. I'll be discussing the Union and St George's flags, which once again are under attack from the left. I lay it out and my thoughts on how we should proudly fly the flag. But next, it's time for our second great British debate of this hour. And I'm asking, should Donald Trump have been given the Nobel Peace Prize? But first, let's get your latest news headlines with Aaron Armstrong.
Good afternoon to you. The headlines from the GB newsroom. Hundreds of thousands of pro-Palestinian protesters are marching in central London, calling for lasting peace in Gaza, a day after the ceasefire agreement came into effect. A small number of arrests have been made after counter-protesters from Stop the Hate breached conditions set in place to keep the two demonstrations apart. Tens of thousands of displaced Palestinians have returned to areas reduced to rubble in northern Gaza after the Israeli military announced a ceasefire. Hamas has recalled thousands of fighters to reassert control over Gaza amid fears of renewed internal violence after the IDF withdrew from parts of the territory. Donald Trump says the US will impose an additional 100% tariff on Chinese imports, accusing the country of taking an extraordinarily aggressive position on trade. It's understood Sir Tony Blair met the convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein in Downing Street while he was Prime Minister in 2002. It was on the recommendation of Lord Mandelson and came 6 years before Epstein pleaded guilty for sex offences with a minor in 2008. And if you're travelling to Europe this weekend, be prepared for delays of up to 4 hours. A new border system is coming into force. Those are your headlines. More coming up at the top of the next hour.
Tune into GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Hello again and welcome to your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. The dry spell continues for most of us as we go through into Sunday. There will be more in the way of fog developing tonight where skies stay clear. And for northern Scotland, there's still going to be a bit of dampness around. That's courtesy of this weather front that's been bringing some rain through the day on Saturday, although it does fizzle away and high pressure brings a dry picture for most of us on Sunday. So still a little bit of rain at times across primarily the northern Isles of Scotland through the course of this evening. Otherwise, though, a dry evening to come. Some cloud around in places for quite some time, but the skies will generally tend to turn clearer as we go through the course of the night. But that will promote some mist and fog patches, particularly across Wales and the Midlands. But I wouldn't want to rule any fog out pretty much wherever skies do turn clear. And in the clearest conditions, we could well see temperatures dip low enough in the countryside at least to give a touch of frost in a few places. But probably too much in the way of cloud for much in the way of fog and frost across southern counties of England. We will run into more in the way of fog across Wales, the Midlands and the Vale of York, for example. And further north, there'll be quite a bit of cloud across Northern Ireland and Scotland. But where skies are clear, then there'll be some fog around first thing as well. Quite a bit of drizzle and light rain in the Northern Isles as well first thing, but that's tending to die out as we go through the course of Sunday. The fog will take quite a while to lift. It might not clear until lunchtime in some prone spots, but otherwise I am hopeful that on Sunday we'll see more in the way of sunshine, particularly across southern and central Scotland, northern England Wales and the Midlands, but even across the south of England, we should see a brighter day for most compared to on Saturday. And in that sunshine, highs of 17 or 18 degrees with light winds, that should feel pleasant enough for mid-October, but a little bit cooler further north. Any drizzle will die out across Shetland as we go into Sunday evening. And once again, Sunday night is going to be dry for most of us, although we will see more in the way of cloud coming back in from the North Sea across parts of England and Wales. So a cloudy week of weather to come. The best of any brightness generally across the north and the west, and temperatures around average for the time of year.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
Welcome back. If you just tuned in, where have you been? It's a feisty one. We started at 3. I'm Nana Akua. This is GB News. We're live on TV, online and on digital radio, and it's time for the second great British debate of this hour. And I'm asking, should Donald Trump have been given the Nobel Peace Prize? Now, the White House has slammed the decision not to award the prize to the US president, the prize over his part in Gaza, the peace deal, labelling it as a snub, as politics over peace. In the meantime, former Prime Minister Boris Johnson told the GB News Late Show this.
Does President Trump deserve a Nobel Peace Prize?
Well, I think that you've got to be realistic and accept that this would simply not have happened had it not been for the work of President using his own office, the power of his office and the force of his own personality.
Exactly. So for the great British debate this hour, I'm asking, should Donald Trump have been given the Nobel Peace Prize? Well, joining me now, broadcaster and columnist Lizzie Cundy and political commentator Fahima Mohammed. Lizzie Cundy.
Most definitely. As Boris just said, this deal would never, ever have happened without Donald Trump. There is no one like him that had the guts to do it. You know, Biden certainly didn't. Keir Starmer actually really didn't help the matter at all by recognising Palestine as a state. And I think he deserves it, and it's potentially one of the greatest peace deals in our civilization. This could be eternal peace, which we all want in the Middle East. And I really do think he was. And, you know, and he's done other things. You know, but, you know, what gets me, if this was Biden, everyone would be calling for him to get the Nobel Peace Prize. But because it's Donald Trump, you know, people don't want him to get it. And he's done an incredible job. He's strong. He's a great leader. He's a great businessman. And that's why this has happened. And he's tried with Putin. He had the balls, can I say, to meet Putin and try with Ukraine. You know, he's the only one to stand up to Putin. And look at the other things he's done with India, Pakistan, 2, you know, nuclear-armed countries. He stopped that from escalating. So, indeed, he does deserve it, and I think he should have got it.
All right, Fahima Mohammed.
It's such a joke, honestly, saying this. I mean, the Nobel Peace Prize should be for moral leadership, not moral bankruptcy. As far as I'm concerned, he didn't make peace, he just made noise, and he's just basically caused chaos, and is just dressed up in a suit because he's just, you know, caused tariffs, travel bans, trade wars, and that's not diplomacy. If anything, he withdrew from the sort of Paris agreement, the Iran deal, and he's isolated America and weakened the global cooperation. Most people are really upset with Donald Trump at the moment, because even now with this so-called peace deal, yes, he's a great businessman for himself, because he's now actually allowed Qatar to build their own base in the US, which is a Muslim country, which they absolutely don't want in the US, and that's what's going to happen right now as well.
Well, I mean, look, even Tony Blair's involved in this one.
Yeah, which is even worse.
Well, I would agree with that. What about Barack Obama, though? Did he deserve a Nobel Peace Prize?
No, I don't think any of them do.
Well, he got a Peace Prize for extraordinary efforts to strengthen international diplomacy and cooperation between peoples, which is what the Peace Prize is about. So surely, by that definition, Donald Trump should get it as well.
No, not at all, because it's not about the Palestinians. It's about a business. It's about him going in there. He's already invested America's money, who has got such bad healthcare, bad economy, and people are really dying on the streets, and they actually are, not having any sort of care at all. And he spent billions on the Israeli war. So now he has to come back and build a new Riviera for, Israelis,
hold on.
not the Palestinians.
Hold on. It's better than our healthcare there in America. I mean, you're comparing.
It's private.
Yeah, but at least you get seen.
But even you would get dead if you have not got the money for it. People are on the streets and they are not.
It's the same.
No. People do at least get seen. They do
I'm
get
wondering
seen.
whether you've actually seen the news. The Palestinians were celebrating the fronts of the papers. They are so happy that there will be no more bombing. There's a ceasefire. You seem to be so unhappy. I'm wondering why you're not happy there's a ceasefire. Why you're not seeing what Trump's involvement. This would never have happened without Donald Trump.
It's not that I'm not happy about it. It is not the full picture. We can't be sort of blindsided and looking at it with rose-tinted glasses.
It wouldn't have happened without Donald Trump.
It is not fact. It's not fact. They are still bombing after the ceasefire. They are still in occupation. They're still an apartheid state. They still tell Palestinians, you walk on this road, you don't walk on that road. You're allowed this much, you're not allowed that much water.
The hostages
you're not allowed
are
anyway.
hopefully going to be released.
But even the families of the hostages are actually against this entire thing, because that could have happened if you listen to the Haaretz. Listen to the Haaretz papers.
My friends,
and even the Israelis, they have actually said that this could have been done ages ago. Hamas has agreed for the hostages to be released ages ago. It's because they were just happy to keep it going for Netanyahu's government and position.
Hamas could have released the hostages at any time. They didn't want to. They could have put down their arms. They didn't want to. This could have happened a lot sooner. Hamas didn't want it because Hamas are terrorists. Hamas are terrorists. And let me tell you, my friend, whose nephew sadly was one of the hostages who got killed, sadly, let me tell you what they have been through, living hell. And now, thanks to Donald Trump, hostages will be released, the dead ones as well, because the family want the bodies back. No other leader, no one else could do that. So why are you against Donald Trump? Surely you want to see the hostages released.
You know, what I really, really find so confusing here is that, I will even say, yeah, the hostages needs to be released. Hamas, needs to obviously, was prompted by Netanyahu. But all I hear is, the Jews and the Israelis and the hostages. Never about the Palestinians, never about the babies, never about the innocent mothers and children, never about the thousands and thousands every single time without food, without aid, breaking international law. This is absolutely ridiculous.
No one wanted
This is absolutely ridiculous. I'm sorry, it's just so one-sided, so double-sided, and you are dehumanising people. One is more important than the other. That's exactly what I hear.
Have you forgotten what happened on the 7th? There was a ceasefire until 7th of October happened.
No,
Hamas came and slaughtered and murdered young 7th of October. This happened from 7th of October. Murders of innocent young people, and that is disgraceful. You are honestly so one-sided with this, and I'm just grateful. I am grateful. I'm grateful the war is over, and I'm grateful that there is a ceasefire, and I'm grateful that hopefully the hostages will be finally released.
Well, I'm hoping that you wake up to the truth.
Well, listen, I'm hoping that you both shut up. Honestly, the fact of the matter is people should be happy the hostages have been released, and hopefully this is a new beginning. Why everyone keeps harping on back to 1948 and 18 blah blah blah. Listen, if I want to get really annoyed, should I be harping back to the slave trade? There was a slave trade before that one, with people before. Every country everywhere has enslaved someone at some point, irrespective of colour. We cannot keep going backwards. We need to move forward. This is a very, very good deal. It's about time people stop talking about the past. Right. Coming up next, 2.5 million Britons are now using weight loss jabs with demand skyrocketing. We'll be asking whether we have lost sight of teaching people about proper nutrition. But first, if you're in search of some holiday sun, here is the forecast of some of the top European destinations.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Storm Alice continues to bring heavy thundery rain to eastern parts of Spain, including the Balearics. Some places could see 50 to 100 millimetres of rain in just a few hours, and these totals will continue to build up for a little while yet. Eventually it is going to ease and clear away, and actually elsewhere there's a lot of fine sunny weather across much of southern Europe as we go through Sunday and into the beginning of next week. Oins in the sunshine, feeling pretty warm. See you later.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes and Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m.
Only on GB News.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon and welcome to GB News. We are Britain's news channel. Welcome back. I'm Nana Akua. Don't forget, you can also watch us live on YouTube. Now, a new study has revealed that 2.5 million people in the UK are now using weight loss injections. Well, that means that that's 1 in every 20 adults has turned to medication. So have we given up on fighting obesity with education, nutrition and exercise? Well, joining us now is body positivity influencer and actor George Keywood. George, welcome. So look, these people have turned to weight loss jabs. Have you turned to them, George?
Well, yeah, obviously I have. I've lost 8.5 stone in the past year. So, you know, I'm really happy with the progress I've made thanks to doing Monjaro. I mean, what can I say? It's been amazing. I never thought that I would have lost 8.5 stone. And I've bettered my life. I've bettered my health. I used to be pre-diabetic, so that's the reason I started doing this in the first place. because I got to a point where I felt uncomfortable in my skin and just walking upstairs and doing everyday things. And I thought, I need to do something about this. And then I started doing Monjaro. At first, it sort of was very slow. And then as the year went on, I just started losing weight after, every month I was just losing more and more and more, basically. And since then, I've improved my health. I've reversed the pre-diabetes. So I'm no longer pre-diabetic and I no longer have any other health conditions at all. So yeah, it's been a huge benefit to me, and it's a huge benefit to a lot of people right now. So I couldn't afford it enough, to be honest with you.
Do you think it should be available on the NHS? Because presumably you have to pay for that. But should it be on the NHS?
I mean, I think definitely it should be on the NHS. I think this will stop the problem in the long run. I know you probably don't agree with that.
Well, I just don't see why I should pay for people stuffing their faces. I'm not being unfair, but people are overweight clearly because they eat too much, as this jab proves. So I think it's unfair that I, who have taken care and made sure and tried to educate myself in nutrition, should now, I have to pay for all my prescriptions and everything I pay into the NHS. My people who can't stop stuffing their faces should now be given this jab to get out of jail free.
It's not a get out of free jail card. Like, it's preventing a problem later on down the line.
Well, why can't they just stop eating?
Yeah, well, you could say that about me. I mean, I've literally paid a lot of money in tax the past year. I've contributed to the NHS more than any other person that I know personally. So, you would say that I deserve it, wouldn't you, for the amount of money that I've spent? But then it's not about who deserves it and who doesn't. It's about solving an issue. And the issue is there's a lot of obese people out there that need to not be obese to later impact the NHS.
Well, why can't the people who are super obese use the money they would have spent on food and pay for the jab?
Because,
Do you know
food
what I mean?
is a couple pounds.
Food is expensive. You didn't get there without eating. You've obviously got more money.
But, I mean, look at the bills right now on food. I mean, geez, just walking to Tesco's, it costs you £100 for a bag of shopping. I mean, it's not as cheap as it used to be. I mean, the problem is the jab's gone up now in price as well.
Sorry to interrupt. The point I'm making is you're spending all that money on food. Why can't you spend the money on the jabs? Why do we have to pay for it? Why don't you take the money from the food and spend it on the jabs rather than it going into the NHS?
Because, like, the issue is trying to get people to change habits is a hard thing to do. And the whole point of Ozempic and Mounjaro and these weight loss jabs is to stop people from having those desires to overeat, which in turn will stop the problem. They will spend less money on food because they don't want to eat as much food. Like me, for instance, today I go out on a Saturday, I can just about stomach a small meal, and I can't eat for the rest of the day. So if anything, it's saving me on my food shopping.
But that's my point. My point is, OK, you want to take the jabs and you need the jab, that's fair enough. But my point is, why should it be on the NHS? Why can't the people who are eating and spending all that money on the food, which is making them fat, spend money on the jab?
Because constantly the government keeps complaining about obese people being the problem of the NHS. So why don't we just deal with the issue that everybody contributes to the NHS in this country? It's there for everybody. And we're saying, look, why don't you help the fat people not be fat? Solve the issue, and then later on down the line, you won't have fat people. It won't even be a thing.
I hear you, and I'm really glad it's worked for you, and it works for so many people, and I'm happy that people feel better. My only gripe is that if you spend all that money on the food, which has made you obese in the first place, instead of the NHS having to pay for it, why can't the people who have spent the money on the food pay for the jab instead? George Keywood, thank you very much. He's a body positively influencer. Next, it's my niggle. I say we should be proudly flying the St George's Union flag. But first, let's get some weather.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello again and welcome to your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. The dry spell continues for most of us as we go through into Sunday. There will be warn away of fog developing tonight where skies stay clear. And for northern Scotland, there's still going to be a bit of dampness around. That's courtesy of this weather front that's been bringing some rain through the day on Saturday, although it does fizzle away and high pressure brings a dry picture for most of us on Sunday. So still a little bit of rain at times across primarily the Northern Isles of Scotland through the course of this evening. Otherwise, though, a dry evening to come. Some cloud around in places for quite some time, but the skies will generally tend to turn clearer as we go through the course of the night. But that will promote some mist and fog patches, particularly across Wales and the Midlands. But I wouldn't want to rule any fog out pretty much wherever skies do turn clear. And in the clearest conditions, we could well see temperatures dip low enough in the countryside at least to give a touch of frost in a few places. But probably too much in the way of cloud for much in the way of fog and frost across southern counties of England. We will run into more in the way of fog across Wales, the Midlands and the Vale of York, for example. And further north, there'll be quite a bit of cloud across Northern Ireland and Scotland. But where skies are clear, then there'll be some fog around first thing as well. Quite a bit of drizzle and light rain in the Northern Isles as well first thing, but that's tending to die out as we go through the course of Sunday. The fog will take quite a while to lift. It might not clear until lunchtime in some prone spots, but otherwise I am hopeful that on Sunday we'll see more in the way of sunshine, particularly across southern and central Scotland, northern England, Wales and the Midlands, but even across the south of England we should see a brighter day for most compared to on Saturday. And in that sunshine, highs of 17 or 18 degrees with light winds, that should feel pleasant enough for mid-October, but a little bit cooler further north. Any drizzle will die out across Shetland as we go into Sunday evening. And once again, Sunday night is going to be dry for most of us, although we will see more in the way of cloud coming back in from the North Sea across parts of England and Wales. So a cloudy week of weather to come. The best of any brightness generally across the north and the west, and temperatures around average for the time of year.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
There's just 3 weeks left to see how you could be our biggest winner this year. First, you could be driving away with this brand new Benamar Primera motorhome. This luxury vehicle comfortably sleeps 4, has its own fitted kitchen and bathroom areas, and comes complete with fitted awning and bicycle rack. And that's not all, as we'll also give you a whopping £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace to Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes and Kerr weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m.
Only on GB News.
Hello and welcome to GB News. We're live on TV, online and on digital radio. It's 4 o'clock. I'm Nana Akua. And for the next few hours, me and my panel will be taking on some of the big topics hitting the headlines right now. This show is all about opinion. It's mine, it's theirs, and of course it's yours. We'll be debating, discussing, and at times we will disagree, but no one will be cancelled. So joining me for the next 2 hours, broadcaster and columnist Lizzie Cundy and political commentator Fahima Mohammed. Coming up in my niggle.
If you stick a pole and a Union Jack tomorrow outside your house, I think you're making a statement. And I think that statement is probably that you prefer Britain to be more white.
The Union flag and the St George's flag continue to be under attack from the left, as well as some MPs. I'll lay out my thoughts on this, why we should be proudly flying the flag in my niggle in just a moment. Then for the Great British Debate this hour, I'm asking, is it time for the pro-Palestine protests to end? The Israel and Hamas ceasefire has now come into effect, yet the marches continue. The question is up on gbnews.com. Please cast that vote. Coming up in Difficult Conversations, joining me in the studio, CEO of Super Cycling Global, Linda Ball, otherwise known as the Green Queen, with her new biodegradable technology that degrades plastics under the ground in between 3 days to 1 week. Wow, incredible. Could it be the solution to the plastic problems? Then later on in the show, we'll be debating whether Brexit and Nigel Farage can be blamed for future tax rises as the Prime Minister and Chancellor look set to use both reasons as an excuse to raise them. Before that, though, let's get your latest news with Aaron Armstrong.
Thanks, Nana. 4:04 here in the GB newsroom. Good afternoon to you. Our headlines: a small number of people have been arrested at a pro-Palestinian demonstration in London that's being held to mark 2 years of war in Gaza. Police say it followed a scuffle between several individuals after a group of counter-protesters from Stop the Hate breached conditions set in place to keep the two demonstrations apart. Now, the main march, the pro-Palestinian march, began on Victoria Embankment before heading towards Parliament for a rally in Westminster. The protest going ahead despite a ceasefire in Gaza coming into effect yesterday, with protesters insisting the marches will continue until a free Palestine is achieved.
Israel's violated every ceasefire agreement it's held. But we also come here knowing that Donald Trump's plan is not a pathway to an enduring peace.
We've been marching for the last 2 years for a free Palestine, not for a ceasefire. Although a ceasefire is really good, they've called ceasefire before. It doesn't mean Palestine's going to be free.
With ceasefires in the past, they've only lasted a few days before the bombings started again. So I don't really believe that it's a true ceasefire. And that's why we're here today, because the war isn't over.
Rescue teams in Gaza have begun recovering bodies from ruined buildings after Israeli troops withdrew from some areas under the ceasefire deal. Tens of thousands of people have been travelling back to what's left of their homes in the north of the territory as the fragile agreement between Israel and Hamas continues to hold. This drone footage captured over Gaza City shows the extent of the damage caused by one of Israel's biggest offensives of the war. Gaza's Civil Defence Agency says almost 10,000 people remain unaccounted for. Aid trucks have now started entering Gaza from the Rafah border crossing in the south. They're carrying tons of food, fuel and medicine. The United Nations declared a famine in Gaza in August as a result of Israel's blockade. Donald Trump says the US will impose an additional 100% tariff on Chinese imports, accusing it of taking an extraordinarily aggressive position on trade. The US president made the announcement on social media, saying it was coming in response to new Chinese restrictions on exports of rare earth materials. The tariffs are due to begin on the 1st of November and will also see export controls on all critical US software going to China. Sir Tony Blair met the convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein in Downing Street while he was Prime Minister. It's reported the meeting in 2002 was arranged after Lord Mandelson sent an email to Blair's Chief of Staff describing Epstein as safe. The former Labour leader spokesperson says the meeting between the pair lasted for less than 30 minutes and took place long before Epstein's crimes were known of. French President Emmanuel Macron has reappointed Sébastien Lecornu as Prime Minister just days after he resigned. The country has been in political crisis since Macron's gamble on an inconclusive snap election last year. Parliament divided, no clear majority, and successive governments are unable to reach consensus over how to tackle the national debt and the budget deficit. Lecornu became Macron's third Prime Minister he'd appointed since December, and he will be expected to present a budget to Parliament by Monday. New estimates show almost 2.5 million people in Britain have ordered weight loss jabs. That is 1 in 20 people. The figures obtained by The Telegraph show sales of Wegovy and Mounjaro have increased 7-fold from 500,000 the previous year. And the Health Secretary's vowed to make the injections widely available on the NHS, although tight restrictions mean around only 24,000 people will be eligible over the next 3 years. And finally, if you're travelling to Europe from tomorrow, leave early, that's the advice, and be prepared for long delays because a new border system is coming into force. The entry-exit system affects UK travellers going to the Schengen area, which consists of 29 European countries, including, of course, Spain, Portugal and Italy, popular tourist destinations. The passengers will have to register fingerprints and take photographs to enter, and they're being warned of queues of up to 4 hours. That's it for the moment. More coming up for you at 4:30.
Take the GB News family with you on any device. As long as you have an internet connection, tune into GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond.
Good afternoon. It is fast approaching 7 minutes after 4 o'clock. I'm Nana Akua. This is GB News. We're live on TV, online and on digital radio. Why shouldn't we raise the flag of this great country and the flag of our great union?
St George's flag is for the country. It's what our forefathers fought and died for. It's not offensive. Other flags can be flown. I don't see why they should do it.
Seems to me, a way of us saying, look, we're all together. We're not a racist community, yeah, I think it's a good thing. But it was inevitable that at some stage they were going to take them down.
But I think the government needs to listen on what the whole country is saying on what they want to do. So yeah, it's good that all the the flags are up and we're all sort of sticking together.
The United Kingdom is such a great country, and those who are trying to come here illegally know this. That's why it is imperative that we protect our identity as a nation and our British culture. Trump is right.
When your prisons are filled with so-called asylum seekers who repaid kindness, and that's what they did, they repaid kindness with crime, it's time to end the failed experiment of open borders. You have to end it now. See, I can tell you, I'm really good at this stuff. Your countries are going to hell.
Protecting our identity means policing our borders properly, so we don't allow people like this to stay here after arriving illegally.
Englishman, Nigel Pasa, don't talk about me. You not know me. I come to England because I want to marry with your sister. Don't talk about me more. I gonna come to England. I gonna mother.
AKA Madapasa, who was convicted of threatening to kill Nigel Farage. That's what we will continue to face if we allow mass unvetted illegal migration to continue. Now, I'm not saying that all migrants who arrive are dingier like him, but we open the door to people like that. Our towns and cities are changing beyond recognition with large levels of both illegal and legal migration in such a short space of time. Of course, those who love this country and our way of life will try and protect it. And when you've got people like this saying stuff like this...
If you stick a pole and a Union Jack tomorrow outside your house, I think you're making a statement. And I think that statement is probably that you prefer Britain to be more white.
And MPs openly condemning the flag, like ex-Labour MP Rachel Maskell, who said her stomach churned when she saw Labour MPs waving the flag at the Labour Party conference. An MP for Loughborough, Jivan Shander, who made these comments on TikTok.
Time to take down the lamppost flags. I'm here on Eppinal Way. There are flags hanging from almost every single lamppost. Now look, I love our flag. My wife wore that flag when she served in the British Army. I see flags flying proudly from flagpoles from public buildings. I see it when the England football team plays. And I don't think about those flags very much, actually. They're just there, it's quite nice. And yet here I am, with flags flying from almost every single lamppost. They're getting a bit tatty, the cable ties are coming loose, they could blow off in the wind. And then I see flags painted on roundabouts, and that is just a bit weird.
And let's not forget Gary Neville, who has replaced Gary Lineker as the village idiot.
All being turned on each other, and the division that's being created is absolutely disgusting. Mainly created by angry, middle-aged white men who know exactly what they're doing.
With weekly protests, which some might see as anti-Semitic, where flags of other nations are being paraded on our streets on a regular basis, is it any wonder British people who respect our heritage and history versus what many might feel is a takeover will do everything in their means to peacefully protect it? Fly the flag of this great nation proudly. Ignore those who call you a racist for doing so. It means all they see is colour, and it exposes their own racism, not yours. Somewhere in their minds they think Britishness is whiteness, and that's up to them. But it's not what crosses my mind when I wave the flag. When I wave the flag, I think of all the great opportunities this country has given me and all the wonderful people I've met on the way. I don't think what colour they are. The only colours I think of are red, white and blue. But before we get stuck into the debate, here's what else is coming up today. We will be live at the Pro-Palestine demonstrations taking place in central London today. This is despite Israel and Hamas agreeing to a ceasefire. And I've got a poll up as well on GBNews.com asking, is it time for the protests to end? Please cast your vote. Then, in the Great British Debate this hour, I'm asking, are Brexit and Nigel Farage to blame for future tax rises? Nice try. The Prime Minister and Chancellor are set to blame both of these things on future tax rises, but are they right to do so? And coming up in the Pulse, joining me in the studio, the Chief Executive of Noah's Ark Children's Hospice, to hear about the fantastic work they do in caring for children at different stages of their lives, and to mark Hospice Care Week. That is coming up. As ever, send me your thoughts, post your comments, gbnews.com/yoursay. Well, I'm joined now by the founder of the Sanctuary Foundation, Dr. Krish Kandiah. Dr. Krish Kandiah, welcome. Really good to see you again. Look, I'm sick and tired of people complaining about us flying the flag and raising the United Kingdom flag and the cross of St George. I mean, look, why are these people stepping out and calling it racist?
It's great to see you, Nana. I love the outfit, looking fantastic as ever. Look, I think it's about context. As one of your interviewers said, when it's an England football match, when it's St George's Day, when it's a public building, we proudly fly the St George's Cross. But we know there's a history. In the 1970s, when I was growing up, the National Front used the St George's Cross in racist marches. Also, around some of those immigration hotels that have been put up, many people were protesting, saying, send them back, and they were wrapping themselves in the St George's Cross. So it began to be used in quite an aggressive way. The best way I can think about it, Nana, I've used this before, see if you like it. Look, bricks. Are bricks good or bad? I think bricks are great. Without bricks, you can't have hospitals or homes or even schools. But if you saw me walking down the road carrying a brick, and I didn't look like I worked on a building site, you might take offence. You might be a little bit nervous. I'm going to do something harmful with a brick. So I think it's the same with flags. They can be used brilliantly,
hold on.
but they can be used to intimidate people as well.
I'm going to have to stop you there. A brick is a solid, hard object. A flag just waves gently. These are two very different comparables. You can't do much with the flag, but you can do a lot with the brick. So I'm going to have to stop you on that one. But, look, let's talk about the BNP in the 70s. That was the 70s. We reclaimed the flag back. So we're not in the 70s now. And people have used the flag as they have used bricks for nefarious reasons. But now people are using the flag to proudly say they're British. They're not chanting racist slogans and doing things like that. They're saying, this is our flag, this is our heritage. We would like to proudly say we're part of this country, and they're all colours, not just white skinheads who want to destroy any race or whatever that comes to this country. And actually, there's very little of that around, in my view. And also, people outside the immigration centres where they're saying send them back, that's not necessarily racist, is it, carrying a flag? They are proud of their country. They want these people to go back to their countries, because many of them are simply taking the mickey, and they are using whatever legal means they can to bypass the system so they can stay in this country, having fled the safety of France. So, frankly, I'm with them on that. They're not flying the flag chanting racist slogans. They're not happy with people from wherever they've come from, but coming to this country illegally via dinghy and then populating our hotels. I'm totally with them.
Nana, sometimes it does feel like we're going back to the 70s, not just because they're back in, but because people like Robert Jenrick are walking around parts of Birmingham saying he hasn't seen a white face. That sounds a lot like Enoch Powell, who said the same things of parts of Birmingham in the 70s. So we seem to be going back in the way that we talk about people. We tell people they're from backward countries. So this is the language of the 70s. We're back to some of the racist tropes that I experienced when I was growing up, my mum experienced when she arrived in the country. And
but he was talking about, but Robert Jenrick was talking about integration. So he was saying that somehow this place, which was initially obviously populated with mainly white people, because this is the United Kingdom, which has a majority white population, he was saying that there's no integration with the people, the white people of this country. Now, I don't know. To me, him saying that doesn't really mean much to me. I don't really care. I'm not really... Sometimes I go to places there are no black people, so what? Sometimes I go somewhere there's no white people. I don't necessarily notice it. I don't really care about it. I think the point he was genuinely making was that he didn't see a full integration. He was seeing sectors, like almost like the places being ghettoised, and that's not an insult. Ghettoisation as in one race, one section of people being in one space, as in a mix of people being there. That is the point he was making, and I think it's a little bit unfair with people trying to drag that out of context and make him sound like a racist, because that's not on. And I think people do that a lot. They take things that people say out of context and then they try and make it sound racist, when what he's saying is, where is the integration? And I take his point.
Well, it did sound racist to me when he was judging a place just by the colour of people's skins. I've not heard him critique predominantly white places for not being integrated. So it does feel like we're going back to the 70s. Our language of division seems to be changing, and I'm sad about that. Because
what about when Adjoa Ando...
We can get along with one another.
Well, what about when Adjoa Ando said it's a very white balcony then? When obviously, you know, when she saw the royal family. Of course, they're mostly white people, so they'll have white children, and you know what I mean? Was that okay?
I hear that comment. I guess, you know, our royal family are fantastic. They're made up a lot of immigrants. You know, we've got German ancestry in our incredible royal family. So we should be a country that recognises the value of immigration, celebrates it. Stop trying to stir up hatred and division. That's my message to the nation. Let's find a way that we can love one another, get along with each other, because we can be stronger together.
So do you think what she said was racist then, when she said it's an incredibly white balcony?
I didn't hear the comment, but...
Well, she said that, yeah.
I don't want to judge people on the colour of their skin. Martin Luther King used to talk about that, didn't he? He wants to see a country in his day where your children, my children, can walk down the road together and enjoy freedom. I want that too. And I think some of the language that we're using lately is taking us backwards rather than forward to a positive future. We're looking over our shoulders more. Look, I was in a school this week talking to some children who had experienced racism, and there's been huge numbers of racist incidents in schools on the increase. And sadly, that's what I had when I was a kid, and we're going back to a time that we don't need to go. We need to go forward to a time when we look at each other and say, look, we can get along. We've got more in common than stuff that separates us.
Well, surely then, if we all wave the Union flag together and say we're part of one united kingdom, then that should hopefully get rid of it, don't you think? I would have thought that'd be the way.
More to patriotism than flag waving. It's not just about waving a flag.
Well, I think part of it would be to unite people under this similar banner, and that would be, to me, the Union Jack and, of course, St George's Cross, and all the great flags of this country. Thank you very much, Dr. Chris Candiar. Really good to talk to you. Yeah. He's the founder of the Sanctuary Foundation. Now, we're still at it because thousands of pro-Palestine protesters are marching in London today, a day after the ceasefire agreement between Israel and Hamas came to effect, with demonstrators saying they will continue until until total liberation. When will they end? Well, joining me now in central London is pro-Palestine protester. No, he's not. Is at the pro-Palestine protest. GB News' national reporter Jack Carson. Jack, talk to me.
Well, so we're here in Whitehall now, Nana, where this protest is now finished, where there's some speeches further down.
We've lost his mic. What a shame. Jack, we can't hear you. Listen, can you come back to us after the break or something? That's Jack Carson. He's there at Whitehall. He's at the pro-Palestine protest. I think his battery just went on his mic pack. But stay with us. Difficult Conversations is coming up. Joining me, CEO of Supracycling Global, Linda Ball, to discuss her biodegradable technology. It's a breakthrough which could maybe potentially solve the world's plastic problems. But next, it's time for the Great British Debate this hour. And I'm asking, are digital ID cards a distraction from the illegal migration crisis? This is GB News.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off-limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
A day for us today, Penny.
Yeah.
With losing our friend, Mr. John Stapleton, totally unexpectedly. I mean, of course, we knew he was ill.
Yes,
but
we didn't know he was ill.
We didn't know he was about to die.
Well, no. When he came in, we came in to the studio, and the three of us kind of were reunited.
Just a month ago.
Just a month ago, exactly. And yesterday, the lovely thing was that I had so many texts from people who you'd recognise as well from GMTV days, other people as well. Everybody saying what a gent he was and how kind and, you know, from my point of view, the reason he stayed a friend, you know, obviously, you know, you have these, you call them screen husbands, screen wives, but the reason he stayed a friend was because he was genuinely funny. He made me laugh a lot, all the time. And, in fact, I just recently did a little podcast with him. We were talking about things that he hated and everything, and he was talking about he hated people driving around with cars with their windows open and really loud music.
Yeah.
And he was just going, you know, he said, I just shout at them, can you turn it up a bit? There's somebody in Australia who can't quite hear the words. So you never expect it, you never want it. The people you love, you want to live forever. That's it.
That's very well said, yeah. I obviously was very friendly. He was, when we say a gentleman, he was gentle. He was a gentle soul. And then he became very nasty. It was very difficult to like and get on with. It was just you know, when Manchester United started to decline in terms of superiority, and he became so... He became so arrogant.
No,
did he really? Oh, he was unbearable.
He so didn't.
GB News, the People's Channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News, the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Hello, good afternoon and welcome to GB News. If you just tuned in, where have you been? We started at 3, we're halfway through the show. I'm Nana Akua, welcome. Right, well, listen, let's quickly pop live now back to central London at the pro-Palestine protest with GB News national reporter Jack Carson. Right, Jack, carry on. What's happening?
So Don't miss me too much, Nana. So, as I was saying, hundreds of thousands of people have gathered here in London for another pro-Palestine demonstration. It's the 32nd national demonstration since the atrocities of the October 7th attacks back in 2023. Hundreds of thousands of people, and we know that 14 buses and coaches were put on for protesters to be able to get here today, coming from all parts of the country. Think of Bristol, of Bath, of Cardiff, of Newport. So people have been able to make their way all over here. Now, obviously, we know that in the last 24 hours, this ceasefire has come into effect, and it's held for the first 24 hours or so. And of course, that continues as part of this 20-point plan that Donald Trump has agreed with Israel, of course, and Hamas and their leadership. But protests still going on today. We asked Peter Tatchel about why this protest was going on, and he called it today being much of a celebration, this demonstration being much of a celebration that their aims had been achieved. But still around this protest on placards, there are still those placards of from the river to the sea. There are still placards around ending the siege. That's something that's also been reflected in the words of the leadership from the Palestinian Solidarity Campaign. The Palestine Coalition have organised this protest today, and there is a sense that there may have well been a ceasefire, but what they call a siege, and we haven't been able to speak to anyone to get them to tell us what the siege means, but the siege is still continuing. So for them and their side, it's still really important for them to continue coming out to protest here. There's also been a counter demonstration here today, Stop the Hate. That was full of Israel flags and British flags, and they've been counter protesting the demonstration today. But as you can hear around me and see in the background, plenty of people still out here demonstrating here in central London.
All right, Jack Carson, thank you very much. He's our national reporter at the pro-Palestine protest. We'll keep you up to date with that. But it's now time for the Great British Debate. I'm asking, are digital ID cards a distraction from the illegal migrant crisis? The head of the Calais region has criticised Sir Keir Starmer's plans and says it will not resolve crossings, and has claimed they actually risked exacerbating the issue by creating both illegal and legal ways to make the crossing. So for the Great British Debate this hour, I'm asking, are digital ID cards a distraction for the illegal migration crisis? Well, joining me now, broadcaster and columnist Lizzie Cundy, and also political commentator Fahima Mohammed. Fahima, what do you make of this?
Digital ID cards on its own is not a bad idea, but it's really useless because we've already got passports, we've got biometric tests, we've got everything. If you're going to use that as an actual reason for getting rid of routes that are not legal in this country where migrants are coming in, then that's not going to work. It's absolutely not going to work at all. They are getting jobs that is not in the system majority of the time, and I think it is not really dealing with the crux of the matter, which is actually the inequality. The reasons why they're coming in is because of the causation of war, the fact that we have a really sort of useless asylum sort of system here, and the processes, the delays, lack of judges. There's so many other root causes that we need to really focus on to actually get this problem underway, or even focusing on certain routes that could be actually there where we could really, vet properly alongside what we are doing right now and make sure that we have control. Then that could work. But the IDs are not really going to do anything.
Well, last time I looked, I didn't see any wars in India, Pakistan, Vietnam, which is a lot of the places where they're coming from. And actually, they're coming from the safety of France. I thought I might add that.
Yes, they are. This is a total distraction. Look, plastic cards, I'm afraid, don't stop boats, Keir Starmer. And it's just, in fact, anything Keir Starmer comes up with about stopping the illegals coming over hasn't worked. He hasn't smashed the gangs. I've noticed he stopped using that phrase lately, but he doesn't seem to be doing anything about this. We've got a signed petition. There's actually 3 million now have signed this, and this government is now just doesn't care. Is consulting on digital IDs for children from the age of 13 to 16, and this is all it is distraction from what is really going on with the illegal migration crisis, and also he just wants to deflect of what's going on in his own party because it's a total disaster.
Well, it's not quite at 3 million, to be fair, but it's on its
way.
But yeah, I mean, look, why is he talking about that now? Nobody's asked for it, and it'll cost us a fortune. Obviously, there'll be a lot of paperwork, there'll be a lot of more people, more staff, and then, of course, they may well charge you for it. They're trying to say it'll be compulsory. In other countries where it's there, it's actually not compulsory, it's voluntary. I just don't see the connection. I find them always trying to move to distract us from looking at what's happening.
Of what's really happening.
Because you know what's happened recently with the boats. We are now about to surpass the entire year's number of migrants who arrived via small boat, possibly this weekend.
Well, the idea of ID cards, obviously, is surveillance, but we can't trust that surveillance. And obviously, most of us, we do have our licence, we have everything that we need to produce when we are going into work. Everything needs to be there when you are going to be vetted, even if you are going into any company. So it already exists. This is an extra layer, which I think is for the people that's going to suffer, who's already here legally, and it does not make sense to me as well. So that's something that we do agree on. I do feel that the government, yes, it has got pressure for the routes that are coming in, but I think Brexit also plays a part, which no one's addressing, because we could have easily gone back. We could have easily gone and sent them back. France would have taken them. It is true. It is true. It is true. We had an original deal that would make them go back in that way. Now it's harder. They're not going to compromise with us. We had extra Interpol.
The Dublin Agreement we didn't really use, and even if we did, sometimes the people weren't accepted by France anyway. So I think that that's a bit of a red herring. And actually, the negotiators of Brexit could have negotiated a better deal, and that would be the Conservative Party, who many didn't want Brexit, so they didn't do a good job. And I'm looking forward to the debate where they blame Nigel Farage.
Oh, God, we'll talk about that later. But, you know, it's a total distraction. I mean, look at the deal, the one-in, one-out deal that Keir Starmer said was going to be such a great thing for us. I mean, we've sent over 26 and we've gained 10,000. And by the way, everyone, we're paying for it. We are paying for it. What a joke. What a disaster. You know, the only thing he is good at is being at top of the survey as being the worst Prime Minister we've ever had in all my years, that's for sure. And this policy, the only thing it's done is unite people like Nigel Farage with Jeremy Corbyn, who agree this is awful, and Zara Sultana with Lee Anderson. Who would have thought it? They're all agreeing that this is an absolute joke.
Well, what is great is actually Zara Sultana and Jeremy Corbyn have finally agree on something.
Yes. But you know what? This wasn't in Keir Starmer's manifesto. It's not what we asked for. We didn't vote for this, and we don't want it.
Why do you think they're doing it, then? Why are they talking about that now? Nobody's interested. We've got so many other problems in the country.
Well,
why are they talking about digital
Just
ID
like
cards?
with most politicians and leaders, they obviously, you know, do not talk to people that they need to talk to in the front line. They obviously have their own ideas, their own sort of advisors, actually not in line with everyday people, and they don't realise what's actually going on. And if they do, again, it's a very easy distraction to also blame the migrants for the entire cost. And I know that it does cost the taxpayers money, but billionaires cost much more, the ones that are avoiding tax, much more to the taxpayers, but we don't mention that.
But billionaires
and at the same
a lot
time,
of money into the country.
But at the same time, it does. But if you were to even tax them a little bit more, it will actually conflate, and it will actually make it so much more that will come back into us.
But that doesn't justify allowing such.
But again, we always, you know, like to pick on the vulnerable and the ones that are like that. It's very easy to do that. People in suits, they get away like the Epstein files.
Fahima, that doesn't allow such a porous system that we have here, that allows people to come to this country illegally in the manner and then literally forget about them and allow them to.
The process is backward.
I'm speaking. Let me finish. Sorry. Allowing them to sort of disappear into the system and then take advantage of all the benefits that we have to offer in this country. You can't talk about the billionaires on that one. This is down to the government's mismanagement of the migration process.
Well, totally. It's about total mismanagement. And Keir Starmer is great at deflecting, trying to, you know, anything else. Look at all what's gone on in this Labour Party. And he totally distracts. Now he's got the China crisis. You know, is he going to be at PMQs, or is he going to still be in India trying to make a Bollywood movie, I think?
He doesn't want to go to PMQs because he doesn't answer any questions.
He doesn't answer.
And if he does, like, should Donald Trump get the Nobel Peace Prize, he avoids that, which I have no idea why. He could have at least said maybe, or at least an answer. 33 minutes after 4 o'clock, this is GB News. Still to come, difficult conversations. Joining me in the studio, CEO of Supercycling Global, Linda Ball, to discuss her biodegradable technology, which could potentially be the solution to many of the world's plastic problems. But next, it's time for the Great British Debate this hour. And I'm asking, are Brexit and Nigel Farage to blame for the future tax rises? But first, let's get your latest news headlines with Aaron Armstrong.
Thanks, Nana. Good afternoon to you. The headlines from the GB newsroom. Hundreds of thousands of pro-Palestinian protesters are marching in central London. They're calling for lasting peace in Gaza a day after the ceasefire agreement came into effect. A small number of arrests have been made after counter-protesters from Stop the Hate breached conditions set in place to keep the two demonstrations apart. Tens of thousands of displaced Palestinians have returned to areas reduced to rubble in northern Gaza after the Israeli military announced a ceasefire. Hamas, it's understood, has recalled thousands of fighters to reassert control over the territory amid fears of renewed internal violence after Israeli forces withdrew from parts of it yesterday. Donald Trump says the US will impose an additional 100% tariffs on Chinese imports, accusing the country of taking an extraordinarily aggressive position on trade. So Tony Blair met the convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein in Downing Street while he was Prime Minister in 2002. The meeting was set up by Lord Mandelson. If you're travelling to Europe this weekend, well, be prepared for delays of up to 4 hours as a new border system comes into effect. Those are your headlines. I'll be back with more at the top of the next hour at 5.
Tune into GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Hello again and welcome to your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. The dry spell continues for most of us as we go through into Sunday. There will be more in the way of fog developing tonight where skies stay clear. And for northern Scotland, there's still going to be a bit of dampness around. That's courtesy of this weather front that's been bringing some rain through the day on Saturday, although it does fizzle away and high pressure brings a dry picture for most of us on Sunday. So still a little bit of rain at times across primarily the northern Isles of Scotland through the course of this evening. Otherwise, though, a dry evening to come. Some cloud around in places for quite some time, but the skies will generally tend to turn clearer as we go through the course of the night. But that will promote some mist and fog patches, particularly across Wales and the Midlands. But I wouldn't want to rule any fog out pretty much wherever skies do turn clear. And in the clearest conditions, we could well see temperatures dip low enough in the countryside at least to give a touch of frost in a few places. But probably too much in the way of cloud for much in the way of fog and frost across southern counties of England. We will run into more in the way of fog across Wales, the Midlands and the Vale of York, for example. And further north, there'll be quite a bit of cloud across Northern Ireland and Scotland. But where skies are clear, then there'll be some fog around first thing as well. Quite a bit of drizzle and light rain in the Northern Isles as well first thing, but that's tending to die out as we go through the course of Sunday. The fog will take quite a while to lift. It might not clear until lunchtime in some prone spots, but otherwise I am hopeful that on Sunday we'll see more in the way of sunshine, particularly across southern and central Scotland, northern England, Wales and the Midlands, but even across the south of England we should see a brighter day for most compared to on Saturday. And in that sunshine, highs of 17 or 18 degrees with light winds, that should feel pleasant enough for mid-October, but a little bit cooler further north. Any drizzle will die out across Shetland as we go into Sunday evening. And once again, Sunday night is going to be dry for most of us, although we will see more in the way of cloud coming back in from the North Sea across parts of England and Wales. So a cloudy week of weather to come. The best of any brightness generally across the north and the west, and temperatures around average for the time of year.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Bold. They are under no illusion. Ray. Are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get this on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline.
Should we be worried about it? From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What we're going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. This is GB News. We are Britain's #1 news channel. Yes, we are. I'm Nana Akua. We're live on TV, online and on digital radio. It's time for the Great British Giveaway, though. Before we do our debate, your chance to become our biggest prize winner so far, worth over £104,000. Here are the details.
There's just 3 weeks left to see how you could be our biggest winner this year with a prize worth over £104,000. First, you could be driving away with this brand new Benamar Primera motorhome. Worth over £74,000, this luxury vehicle comfortably sleeps 4, has its own fitted kitchen and bathroom areas, and comes complete with fitted awning and bicycle rack. And that's not all, as we'll also give you a whopping £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. Someone is guaranteed to win our biggest prize to date, so make sure that winner could be you. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. The winner will be contacted live on GB News, week commencing 10th of November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Good luck indeed. Right, it's time now for our Great British Debate. It's the second one of the hour. I'm asking, are Brexit and Nigel Farage to blame for future tax rises? It's a bit of a stretch, isn't it? So Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves plan to blame Nigel for tax rises in the budget. I mean, really, seriously, come on. They will say he delivered Brexit with easy sloganing, then walked away, failing to take responsibility. He wasn't even in power. Do you think the British people are stupid? We voted for it, remember? So for the Great British Debate this hour, I'm asking, are Brexit and Nigel Farage to blame for future tax rises? Well, joining me now, broadcaster and columnist Lizzie Cundy and political commentator Fahima Mohammed. I'm going to start with you, Lizzie Cundy. I can't believe they're going to say that with a straight face.
Of course it's Nigel's fault. Of course it is. And it's also Nigel's fault that, you know, Keir Starmer's beloved football team, Arsenal, are going to lose today. That will be his fault as well. I mean, this is just typical Starmer because he's panicking because he knows that we've got the autumn budget coming up. Rachel Reeves has totally messed things up. They were harping and bleating on about that 22 billion black hole, and now all he's done with his inept policies is doubled it, and they need to blame someone else. I mean, they were blaming Nigel, calling it the Farage dinghies, weren't they? Farage boats coming over. He will blame and pick on Nigel for anything, and he must actually take us for fools if he thinks we're going to believe that.
Well, people voted in a democratic election with regard to Brexit, a democratic mandate, which is a referendum, which we voted to leave. I mean, that's it. It's not Nigel's fault. Fahima Mohammed, is it Nigel's fault for their tax rises?
I think, you know what, it doesn't come just like in a sort of like package, as you said, we just voted. These packages was a campaign. Boris, Nigel Farage, you know, we had so many things. There's been studies to show that people that were even undecided, but because of the campaign that was put out, including Nigel Farage, including Boris Johnson, including Theresa May, all of these people, they did have a part to play with people voting in that way, and they do regret it.
Which surveys have you seen that said that people were stupid enough to believe that we'd save 365 or whatever?
There was lots of academic surveys that I have seen, and even Goldman Sachs in the UK economy has said that 5% smaller now over the past 8 years. We've got a reduction in productivity. We've got the Cambridge, eco metrics in City Hall that says the economy is like 140 billion smaller in 2023. We've got the job losses and the regional disparity, around 300,000 fewer jobs in London with the financial services, construction, 2 million fewer across the UK. So this has definitely affected, the UK economically. We cannot deny that. And as many people, even we've got, business people like the apprentice, what's his name? Alan Sugar, even saying he wants Brexit back. People like that, they understand how businesses work, how we need to have our allies in Europe, how it's good for the Britons, not just for travelling, but most importantly, we've got different types of migration as well.
It sounds like what you're saying is business want it to be that way because obviously for them it's a lot more cost-effective.
Everyday people too.
No, but you said that there's surveys that show that people voted for Brexit because of some of the slogans. So I'm saying, which survey showed that people voted for Brexit because of a slogan?
Well, the Boris buses were there, and those surveys.
Which one? Which survey?
You can Google it. I'm not, you know, I have Googled it, and I'm just telling you, there's several. There were studies to show that Brexit. No, I am an academic. I am an academic.
I just want to remind you.
I will not give you facts unless it is actually there. It's absolutely there.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry.
We've got to speak in facts. Well, let's speak in facts. David Cameron spent over $9 million on his campaign, and then he left when he lost. And this was a democratic vote. And let me remind you that our Prime Minister tried to stop this vote. He didn't agree with it, and he wanted a second referendum, and he wanted to go against the will of the people. The people voted for Brexit, and it was the Tories that didn't execute it properly, not Nigel Farage. Nigel's still upset with Boris Johnson about this.
Do you blame Nigel Farage for the rise in taxes that the Labour government... Sorry, hang on, let me finish. The rise in taxes that the Labour government is saying they're going to bring in, but they're blaming Nigel Farage because of it and Brexit?
Nigel Farage was not in power, but he has great influence.
Correct.
He has great influence, and that makes a difference. And when you're part of a campaign, those things make a difference.
And they don't have influence.
Well, at the end of the day, when you just like how when we keep pushing migration, and immigrants and legals, you know, people are only going to hear that. There is something in psychology that's called discourse, you know, sort of disparities. When we are putting news out there and people that honestly hear the subliminal messages, that's what comes from it. So when you understand that, that's how it works.
What about their subliminal messages? How come they supposedly everyone ignored them? They didn't. People just voted for what they felt they wanted, and that's what they did. We voted for Brexit, so that's what happened.
I know, and a lot of people regret it. Even the polls say that a lot of people do regret that vote, and they weren't given what they were promised. Whoever that was involved, I think it's not just one.
Back to the polls. Which polls say that people regret it?
The YouGov. There's loads. There are loads. There's loads of studies, and I'm not just saying this. I've done it because I've done papers on this myself when I was studying, and that was 3 years ago. That's why
there were both sides. David Cameron had a huge campaign, and he lost, and he walked out, and that's fact. And let me just tell you, this government said they weren't going to tax the working people. Do you remember that? Not taxing the working people. That's all they've done. They have just lied, I'm afraid, and this is their doing with their net policies.
Well, they would say it's not lies, but things changed, so they had to go against what they've written in their manifesto, or they'd perhaps say that they're still not taxing working people, because I suppose the tax on farmers is an inheritance tax, and presumably the people they're taxing are dead. So, if you're in search of some holiday sun, here's the forecast of some of the top European destinations.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Storm Alice continues to bring heavy thundery rain to eastern parts of Spain, including the Balearics. Some places could see 50 to 100 millimetres of rain in just a few hours, and these totals will continue to build up for a little while yet. Eventually it is going to ease and clear away, and actually elsewhere there's a lot of fine sunny weather across much of southern Europe as we go through Sunday and into the beginning of next week. Oins in the sunshine, feeling pretty warm. See you later.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom with Andrew and Beth.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie is here.
I'm Michelle Jude, Britain's News Channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection, tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's News Channel. At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes and Kerr weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News, the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, welcome. If you just tuned in, great to have your company. Now it's time for The Pulse, and this week I'm discussing Noah's Ark Children's Hospice. The Ark is set in the stunning 7.5-acre nature reserve and run by specialists in both paediatric and palliative care, and it's been carefully designed to meet the needs of children at different stages of their lives. And this week is Hospice Care Week. So I'm joined in the studio by Chief Executive of Noah's Ark Children's Hospice, Sophie Andrews. So Sophie, tell me a little bit about the hospice.
Hi, Nana. So Noah's Ark Children's Hospice, we're based in Barnet. We support 350 children across North and Central London. But there's a really big unmet need. So there's around 2,500 children across our catchment who could benefit from hospice care. So the children that come to us will always have a life-limiting or life-threatening condition, but they'll come to us usually for many years. So a child could be diagnosed at birth with a condition and could be coming to us for many years before they receive that end-of-life care.
And what is the struggles that you're having with this hospice? Because obviously it's completely funded privately by donations and things like that, right?
Yeah. So it costs us £7 million to run the hospice. One of the challenges is a very small amount of that is government funding. So most of it is raised through donations. And I think that's probably, in terms of myth busting, in terms of your audience, I think most people would think that we are mainly government funded, and we're not. So it's a real challenge every year to raise the funds to be able to support those children. Clearly, we wouldn't want to ever withdraw funding, withdraw services from children. So it's a sort of a target that reigns over our head all the time to be able to raise that money.
And what kind of things does the hospice provide for the children?
So end-of-life care for children, post-death care, so after a child has died, they can stay with us in our bereavement suite for usually up to a week with their family, and a lot of that care then is about sibling support, therapeutic support for the family. If you can imagine losing a child and the impact on the other children and the rest of the family is huge. So post-bereavement support is really important. But then the other side of what we do, I guess, is around therapies, providing respite care for families and being on the journey with them. So it could be for many years that we sit alongside that family and provide that care, holistic care, clinical care, and walk the journey with the families as they're going through it.
Aren't you amazing? It must be quite hard to do that job.
Yeah,
it must be very difficult because children are so adorable. Yeah. And, you know, I don't know how, you know, you're amazing. People like you who are able to give the children the best possible life, even irrespective of the fact that life might be short.
Yeah, well, it's incredible. Really, one of our mantras is making the most of every day, so actually thinking very much about every day and every moment. We have a fundraising campaign that's been running since the beginning of September, and it finishes at 10 o'clock on Monday evening. And because we've got some very generous donors, we have a sort of backers pot, which means that any donation that people give us between now and 10 o'clock on Monday will be doubled. So one of the reasons I'm really pleased to be here at the end of the campaign is to really reach out to your viewers and say any donation they make between now and 10 o'clock on Monday night will be doubled, and that makes such a huge difference. As I say, there's so much money that we need to raise.
So how can they, if they want to help, how can they get in touch and donate to help these beautiful children, giving them the best life possible?
The best way is via our website, so www.noahsarkhospice.org.uk. All the details there on how to donate. People may want to get involved in terms of community fundraising. They may want to come and visit the Ark, so an open offer to people if they are interested in finding out more to come and see us. And we are a place of life, and I'd encourage people to learn more about what we do.
Yeah, that's wonderful. So they need to get the donations in before 10 o'clock on Monday. Before 10 o'clock on Monday.
Yeah.
So if you are listening or watching on GB News, then please, if you can help, then remind us again of the website.
I have to get it right now. www.noahsarkhospice.org.uk.
All right. Well, listen, thank you very much for joining us in the studio. That's Chief Executive of Noah's Ark Children's Hospice, Sophie Andrews. Sophie,
thank you, Nana.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Lovely
you.
to talk to you.
Thank you.
What a wonderful lady. Right, still to come, Boris Johnson makes a bold prediction about Reform UK's future. Find out what that's all about. All of that after your all-important weather. Do not go anywhere. This is GB News. We are Britain's news channel.
Today's outlook: cool, calm and completely horizontal. Boxed aircon sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello again and welcome to your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. The dry spell continues for most of us as we go through into Sunday. There will be warn away of fog developing tonight where skies stay clear. And for northern Scotland, there's still going to be a bit of dampness around. That's courtesy of this weather front that's been bringing some rain through the day on Saturday, although it does fizzle away and high pressure brings a dry picture for most of us on Sunday. So still a little bit of rain at times across primarily the northern Isles of Scotland through the course of this evening. Otherwise, though, a dry evening to come. Some cloud around in places for quite some time, but the skies will generally tend to turn clearer as we go through the course of the night. But that will promote some mist and fog patches, particularly across Wales and the Midlands. But I wouldn't want to rule any fog out pretty much wherever skies do turn clear. And in the clearest conditions, we could well see temperatures dip low enough in the countryside at least to give a touch of frost in a few places. But probably too much in the way of cloud for much in the way of fog and frost across southern counties of England. We will run into more in the way of fog across Wales, the Midlands and the Vale of York, for example. And further north, there'll be quite a bit of cloud across Northern Ireland and Scotland. But where skies are clear, then there'll be some fog around first thing as well. Quite a bit of drizzle and light rain in the Northern Isles as well first thing, but that's tending to die out as we go through the course of Sunday. The fog will take quite a while to lift. It might not clear until lunchtime in some prone spots, but otherwise I am hopeful that on Sunday we'll see more in the way of sunshine, particularly across southern and central Scotland, northern England, Wales and the Midlands, but even across the south of England we should see a brighter day for most compared to on Saturday. And in that sunshine, highs of 17 or 18 degrees with light winds, that should feel pleasant enough for mid-October, but a little bit cooler further north. Any drizzle will die out across Shetland as we go into Sunday evening. And once again, Sunday night is going to be dry for most of us, although we will see more in the way of cloud coming back in from the North Sea across parts of England and Wales. So a cloudy week of weather to come. The best of any brightness generally across the north and the west, and temperatures around average for the time of year.
Today's outlook: cool, calm and completely horizontal. Boxed aircon sponsors the weather on GB News.
There's just 3 weeks left to see how you could be our biggest winner this year. First, you could be driving away with this brand new Benamar Primera motorhome. This luxury vehicle comfortably sleeps 4, has its own fitted kitchen and bathroom areas, and comes complete with fitted awning and bicycle rack. And that's not all, as we'll also give you a whopping £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/your say. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/your say, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
Because the failure is-
you're
the failure is-
deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes and Kerr weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News, the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to GB News. We're live on TV, online, and on digital radio. I'm Nana Akua. It's 5 o'clock. And for the next hour, me and my panel will be taking on some of the big topics hitting the headlines right now. This show is all about opinion. It's mine, it's theirs, and of course it's yours. We'll be debating, discussing, and at times we will disagree, but no one will be cancelled. So joining me in the next hour, broadcaster and columnist Lizzie Cundy, and also political commentator Fahima Mohammed. Now, throughout the show, I've been asking, is it time for the pro-Palestine protests to end? The Israel and Hamas ceasefires now come into effect, yet the marches continue. And today was another day of those marches. But why? I'll be speaking to a protester who was there, and I've got a poll up live on gbnews.com. Please cast your vote. Then in difficult conversations, joining me in the studio, CEO of Supercycling Global, Linda Ball, and her biodegradable technology that degrades plastics under the ground in between 3 days to 1 week. Wow. Could this be the solution for the world's plastic problems? And then for the Great British Debate this hour, I'm asking, should the man who burned the Quran have had his conviction overturned? Hamid Koskan overturned conviction was welcomed by free speech campaigners, but was this the right decision? And in case you missed my niggle on why we should be proud to fly our country's flag, the Union flag, despite attacks from the usual suspects on the left, you can check it out at gbnews.com or YouTube and our social media channels. But before we get started, let's get your latest news with Aaron Armstrong.
Thank you very much indeed, Nana. Good afternoon to you. Just after 5 o'clock, our top stories. A small number of people have been arrested at a pro-Palestinian demonstration in London marking 2 years of the war in Gaza. Now, police say it followed a scuffle between several individuals after a group of counter-protesters from Stop the Hate breached conditions set in place to keep the demonstrations apart. Now, the main march, which could have more than 100,000 people, began on Victoria Embankment and then headed towards Parliament for a rally in Westminster. It's going ahead despite a ceasefire in Gaza coming into effect yesterday, and protesters say the marches will continue until a free Palestine's achieved.
Israel's violated every ceasefire agreement it's held, but we also come here knowing that Donald Trump's plan is not a pathway to an enduring peace.
We've been marching for the last 2 years for a free Palestine, not for a ceasefire, although a ceasefire is really good. They've called ceasefire before. It doesn't mean Palestine's going to be free.
With ceasefires in the past, they've only lasted a few days before the bombings started again. So I don't really believe that it's a true ceasefire, and that's why we're here today, because the war isn't over.
Rescue teams in Gaza have begun recovering bodies from ruined buildings after Israeli troops withdrew from some areas yesterday as part of the ceasefire deal. Tens of thousands of people have travelled back to what's left of their homes in the north of the territory. This footage from Gaza City shows the extent of the damage caused over the last 4 weeks during Israel's biggest offensive of the war. Gaza's Civil Defence Agency says some 10,000 people remain unaccounted for. Humanitarian aid has begun to enter Gaza, although aid agencies are expressing frustration that deliveries have yet to fully begin, with hundreds of lorries still waiting at the Rafah crossing. The UN declared a famine in Gaza in August as a result of Israel's blockade. Sir Tony Blair met the convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein in Downing Street while he was Prime Minister. It's understood the meeting took place in 2002 and was arranged after Lord Mandelson sent an email to Blair's Chief of Staff describing Epstein as safe. The former Labour leader's spokesperson says the meeting took less than 30 minutes and happened long before Epstein's crimes were known about. Donald Trump has announced plans for the US to impose an additional 100% tariffs on Chinese imports, accusing the country of taking an extraordinarily aggressive position on trade. The US president made the announcement on social media, saying it's in response to new Chinese restrictions on exports of rare earth materials. Now, the tariffs are due to begin on the 1st of November and will also see export controls on all critical software from the US to China. Former US President Joe Biden is receiving radiation therapy for prostate cancer, which was diagnosed earlier this year. His spokesman says the treatment is expected to last 5 weeks and marks a new point in his care, adding that the 82-year-old is doing well. The former president was diagnosed in May with an aggressive form of the disease, which had at that time spread to his bones. French President Emmanuel Macron's reappointed Sébastien Lecornu as Prime Minister just days after he resigned. Well, the country has lurched from one political crisis to another ever since Macron took a gamble on an inconclusive snap election last year. Lecornu became Macron's third Prime Minister since December, less than 4 weeks ago. He's back in the job anyway and is expected to form a new government and present a budget to Parliament at the beginning of next week. If you're travelling to Europe from tomorrow, leave early and be prepared for long delays because new biometric border checks are coming into place. Visitors arriving in any of the Schengen area countries, 29 countries, will have their faces and fingerprints scanned under this new entry-exit scheme. The EU is dispensing with passport stamps in favour of the digital system. Now, authorities hope that despite initial delays, it should be more streamlined. But travel journalist Simon Calder says the first time you land in the zone will take time.
You get in, you land, you then have to register your biometrics, fingerprints and face, and that gets tallied to your identity from your passport. And then that's just the start. You then go through the same old analog palaver where somebody comes along, has a look at your passport, checks you haven't spent too long there, gives you a stamp and off you go. And that's exactly why we're getting warnings from the travel industry that it could actually hold you up for 4 hours, which would take the edge off the start.
Now, new estimates show almost 2.5 million people in Britain have ordered weight loss jabs. That's 1 in every 20 persons. The figures obtained by The Telegraph show sales of Wegovy and Mounjaro have increased 7-fold from 500,000 the previous year. The Health Secretary's vowed to make the injections widely available on the NHS, but tight restrictions mean only around 24,000 people will be eligible over the next 3 years. Those are your headlines. We'll have a short bulletin come out for you at 5:30.
Tune into GB News Radio wherever you are, online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Good afternoon. If you just tuned in, welcome on board. It is fast approaching 8 minutes after 5 o'clock. This is GB News. We are Britain's news channel. We're live on TV, online and on digital radio. I'm Nana Akua. Now, coming up, pro-Palestine demonstrations have been taking place in central London today. And, of course, this is despite Israel and Hamas agreeing to a ceasefire. I'll be speaking to a protester, Peter Tatchel, who was there. There's a poll up on gbnews.com as well. I'm asking, is it time for the protests to end? Please cast that vote. We'll be closing that in about 10 minutes or so. Then stay tuned for difficult conversations. Joining me in the studio, CEO of Supracycling Global, Linda Ball. We'll be discussing biodegradable technology that degrades plastics under the ground and degrades them in up to 3 days to 1 week. Could this be the end to the plastic problems of the world? Then, for the Great British Debate this hour, I'm asking, should the man who burned the Quran have had his conviction overturned? Free speech campaign has hailed the overturning of the decision, but was it the right one? And as ever, send me your thoughts, post your comments, gbnews.com/your say. So thousands of Palestine protesters have been marching in central London today, a day after the ceasefire agreement between Israel and Hamas, which obviously it came into effect. Demonstrators are saying they will continue until total liberation. They've moved the goalposts. I'm joined now by someone who was at the march today. That is human rights campaigner Peter Tatchel. Peter, what were they protesting for? There is a ceasefire. The hostages need to be released. It is down to Hamas to meet their end of the bargain. So what's the problem?
Well, today's protest had two aspects. First of all, it was a gigantic celebration, a victory march, because right from the first Palestine protest 2 years ago, our number one demand was ceasefire now.
Should it not have been release the hostages?
To save the lives of both Palestinians and Israelis. And finally, President Trump, 2 years later, and other world leaders have agreed that a ceasefire is the priority. So I think it's a great tribute to these marchers that the demand for a ceasefire has been agreed.
It's got nothing to do.
The second thing is, a ceasefire...
Release the hostages?
A ceasefire has been agreed in principle, but there have been previous ceasefires which have broken down. So we have to keep up the pressure to ensure that this ceasefire is adhered to by all sides. And of course, we need to then start moving Israeli troops out of Gaza, establish full humanitarian aid of food, water, medicine and fuel. Those things have yet to happen.
And release the hostages.
And of course release the hostages.
Well, that should be the first thing. Look, I hear you, but they've been given the condition to release the hostages. So what I was hoping that you would say, first of all, was the first thing was wonderful, release the hostages. Then all the other stuff. And this is what the problem is, that we see all this, but we very rarely hear them say release the hostages. We hear free Palestine from the river to the sea. Many can't tell you what river and what sea. And then anti-Semitic chanting as well.
Well, I didn't hear any anti-Semitic chanting today.
And most people who come here say they didn't as well.
Yeah, and I'm sure there may have been some small incidents, but that's not representative. You can't damn a whole group of people on the basis of what some idiots do.
So what about...
Some extremists. But going back to your point, we have consistently called not only for the release of the hostages, but also for the release of Palestinian political prisoners held in Israeli jails. And Israel's own human rights organisations say that there are hundreds, if not thousands, who are detained without trial. Many of them don't even know the charges against them. They're being denied medical treatment, food and water, and in many cases being beaten up. And the number one person that will only get a solution here is Marwan Barghouti. He's been jailed by Israel since 2002 on fake terrorism charges, like Nelson Mandela was in South Africa. He is committed to a two-state solution. He has condemned attacks on civilians. In fact, he organised protests against Hamas when they killed Israeli civilians. And, moreover, he wants to see free and fair elections, and the opinion polls show that if he was a candidate, he would beat Hamas hands down. And that's what we want. We want a democratic, secular leader for Palestine who can deliver a two-state solution where Jews and Arabs can live together in peace, equality and with human rights.
The problem with this, Peter, is that we start with wanting one thing, then that one thing is achieved, we move the goalpost to the next thing, and then once you got that, so then once... I can I can tell you how this is going to play out because I can see it. I think most people can see it as well. This protesting, which should stop really when the hostages are released and there's peace, because there will be, should stop, but it won't. Because the things that you just said, now we want so-and-so in power, so you're going to carry on with the protest. Now we want this, so carry on with the protest. Let me finish, because I listened to you. In the meantime, it'll be costing us all a fortune policing these protests. How about they go with, we get the hostages released, there's a ceasefire. I think we should stop there. The rest of it, they can negotiate between themselves. It doesn't need people on the streets of London every single week and all across the country protesting again and again and again when there's a lot of problems in this country that, well, we need to sort out ourselves.
Well, these Palestine protests only take place once a month. So it hasn't been every week.
Well, I've been on air. There was one last week.
Well, that was unusual.
There was one the week before that.
Yeah. No, I'm sorry.
No,
most of the protests by the Palestine Solidarity Campaign have been once a month.
By that, maybe by then.
Once a month.
Last week it was not Palestine Action. It was somebody representing Palestine Action, but not them. Then the week before that, it was another one. So all these...
But hang on. People have a right to protest, even if you or I disagree with them.
Yeah, but...
I will defend the right of Brexit supporters to protest. I don't agree with them. They can march, as far as I'm concerned, every single day.
What about
it's their free speech.
No, what about the rights of Jewish people to walk the streets of London and all other cities freely whilst these protesters are doing this on a weekly basis, which, as you admitted, there are elements of anti-Semitism in there, which make it dangerous for Jewish people to be amongst those. No, don't say your head. Please don't say, because I've just literally had the chair of the National Jewish Assembly telling me how a lot of Jewish people will not go to those areas for the risk that there is that anti-Semitic element. And even the police will remove or ask Israelis or people who are on the other side of that protest to remove themselves from the area.
Well, I can tell you that thousands of Jewish people have joined these protests and been welcomed. I've also seen Jewish people on the sidewalk watching. They have not been abused or threatened or insulted in any way. The protests are not against Jewish people. We stand against anti-Semitism. We will defend the Jewish community, but we disagree with Israel's war policies. That's a big difference. You can't equate opposition to Israel to opposition to Jewish people. That's not fair. It's not true.
So even if you're in the protest and someone's chanting from the river to the sea, which in the main most Jewish people would say is anti-Semitic, when people are chanting Free Palestine, which again can be quite intimidatory for Jewish people, and that was happening repeatedly on that protest. I can see signs of it even now. Even when people are holding Hamas flags in this protest, you're telling me that it's OK for Jewish people to come through the protest. It's not really. Even the police tell them, please don't go if you look openly Jewish.
For the last 2 years, in Israel itself, hundreds of thousands of Jewish people have marched against the government, calling for the release of the hostages, a ceasefire and an end to the mass killing of Gaza civilians, including 15,000 children have been killed by Israel. They did not deserve that. They were innocent. Why is Israel killing children who have nothing to do with Hamas?
All right, well, first of all, Hamas are the governing body in Gaza.
Not anymore.
Well, they were during this, and you've talked about the 2 years, so let's be realistic. And that's only because they have been annihilated, which is why they're not anymore.
And that's good, because Hamas are bad people.
So really and truly, the hostages need to be released.
Absolutely.
Well, that's number one.
Yeah, but you know...
You can't disassociate...
1 month after October the 7th, Hamas released 100 hostages.
That's not all of them, though.
No, they were going to release more, and that was vetoed by Prime Minister Netanyahu. He blocked it. There could have been, all those hostages could have been released way back in 2023.
And there may well have been some other conditions that were applied there that were totally unrealistic, which is possibly why Hamas, why Benjamin Netanyahu didn't do that. But I don't believe Hamas would have done it anyway, because, as you know, Hamas used the hostages as bargaining chips.
Yeah, we do not support Hamas. People on these protests do not support Hamas.
People holding Hamas flags on the protest.
I took a sign condemning Israel's mass killing of civilians and condemning Hamas. I got cheers and applause from people on the march. And when the police arrested me, I had a whole crowd surrounding me and the police saying, let me go. Why is it wrong to criticise Israel and Hamas?
Yeah, well...
I'm now taking a legal action, a legal case against the police over that.
I hear you, but you're making... The job of the police can be very difficult in that situation, because they're trying to protect protesters who are there who appear to be supporting Jewish people or Israel. And that's probably why you've got to... But that then proves my point, that if you're there openly Jewish, and that is looking Jewish, I suppose, it's not a good place for you to be.
But there were some Jewish protesters at the protest today. They held up signs. Some people criticised them.
Exactly.
But but lots of people said it's their free speech, it's their right. And in fact, the police dealt with it very well. They allowed them to hold their sign, which was quite right.
Well, that's good of them, but they should be able to go there freely, like everybody else with their freedoms. Peter Tatchel, we could talk about this for ages, and we will. We'll talk again.
Thank you.
That is Peter Tatchel. He's a human rights campaigner. He was there today at the pro-Palestine protests. Right, well, let's move on, because it's just approaching 18 minutes after 5 o'clock. And let's talk Boris Johnson. He's predicted that Nigel Farage's Reform UK will soon drop to 0% in the opinion polls in an exclusive interview with GBNews. Let's take a look and have a listen to what was said. Oh. Well, let's not do that, because we've done it a few times anyway. The former Prime Minister made the staggering prediction after being unable to muster up a single serious Reform UK policy. Right, well, you could watch the full interview exclusive with Boris Johnson. Head over to youtube.com/GBNews online. And we are less than 250 people away from 2 million subscribers on YouTube. So hit that button, subscribe, and join our growing online audience. Well, joining us now, political strategist James Frayne. James, what is Boris Johnson talking about?
I have absolutely no idea, I'm afraid. And it's it's an interesting window into what it was really like in those days, with sort of bizarre interviews and sort of weird jokes, and you never know when he's serious or when he's not serious. On this one, we have to assume that this is just some enormously elaborate ruse that at some point he's going to admit was, yes, some great big joke. It's obviously ludicrous. And it's interesting that the big problems that the Conservative Party face, and the reason that reform really exists in his current reform, is because of the mistakes that he made. I mean, he effectively created reform in its current incarnation by, for example, not getting a grip on small boats when they first started arriving, by allowing immigration to completely rocket on his watch. Obviously, if you want to go even further into the weeds, the NHS begun to really collapse, or it never really got going again after COVID, despite him promising endless amounts of new hospitals. It promised the economy would improve, and instead inflation was rampant. I mean, Boris Johnson, as I say, really created reform as it stands.
Well, I would say, with the failure of the Conservative Party, I'm inclined to agree with you. I wanted to ask you very briefly on this one with Keir Starmer, who's blaming Nigel Farage for the rises in taxes that he's probably going to have to do in the next budget, and he's blaming Nigel Farage for that because of Brexit. What was your take on that?
Look, I think it's just absurd. It's again like the Labour are calling the boats like the Farage boats or whatever. It's completely absurd. I think they just see in Farage someone that is a massive threat, which he is, in the sense of he is heading towards victory at the next election. Now, clearly, we've got a long way to go, but I think they're just throwing everything that they can at Nigel Farage in the hope that some of it sticks and they start to fall in the polls. There's no sign of that at the moment.
All right, well, listen, it's really good to talk to you. Thank you very much. Really good to speak to you. That's James Frayne. He's a political strategist. Thank you for your thoughts. Right, well, coming up next in Difficult Conversations, joining me, CEO of Supracycling Global, Linda Ball, to discuss their biodegradable technology, which could be a complete game changer. Could the world's plastic problems be solved?
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Park Estate and the anti-litter champion. Great to see you. What made you think of this, Duncan?
I think just the huge amount of litter. I said to the children, when I was their age, we would be able to go from this beautiful estate, which I'm so lucky to live in, to Witham or Chelmsford or Braintree, and you'll never see any litter. And today it's so different. And you know, we're thinking we've got to affect some kind of behavioural change, and the best place to start with that is with young minds. It's so baffling to me that people don't prioritise litter, because if you think about it, all the ills of society that our civic leaders are trying to sort out are characterised by, you know, antisocial behaviour, lack of personal responsibility, selfishness, lack of community spirit. And if you toss a plastic bottle or a disused coffee cup or a wrapper out of your window, one is displaying exactly the same characteristics as, you know, we need to resolve all the other bigger antisocial problems.
What reaction are you getting from today's children? Are they a bit astonished about the fact that they shouldn't throw litter around?
Yeah, no, every time you ask the question, has anybody seen anyone littering? Up went 500 hands. Have you ever littered? And up went to sort of 10 very brave little hands.
GB News, the People's Channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon. If you just tuned in, where have you been? We started at 3. I'm Nana Akua. This is GB News. This is coming up to 24 minutes after 5 o'clock. We are live on TV, online and on digital radio. And it's time for this week's Difficult Conversations, which this week is with the CEO of Supracycling Global. Her name is Linda Ball, and the company created a biodegradable technology that degrades plastics underground between 3 days to 1 week. Now, listen to this. This is so innovative. This is an exclusive here on GB News, which they believe could be the solution to the world's global plastic problems. Well, I'm pleased to say I'm joined in the studio by the global recycling queen, Linda Ball. Linda, talk to me about this technology. It's fascinating. First of all, how long does it normally take plastic to biodegrade?
Oh, I mean, it can take years, 100 years, even more than that. Just depends on the plastic and how it's made. That's the most important part of it. But in saying that, the plastic's degrading as it's being made right now, but it still wouldn't break down, like, very quickly in that sense. It's just breaking down in the strength of, let's say I gave you a pen, that pen would probably be degrading as you're writing with it nowadays, because the polymers that they're putting in it and the compounds they're mixing with it are so weak.
So when you say polymers, are they the things
they're
that
plastics.
make the plastics
So,
together?
no, plastics are polymers.
Right.
That's the thing. So when people see a plastic, they think all plastics are necessarily the same, but they're not. So when they make the plastics, now there's no governing body saying, you've got to tell us what's in your compound, you need to fortify it correctly. They don't do that. So the less fortification that they give, which makes it a really strong plastic, the more money they make.
So what are plastics made with then? And why is it so toxic and dangerous?
Well, because there's 16,000 toxic chemicals in plastics today. 4,200 of them are not fit for human consumption.
Now, presumably, if the plastics are breaking away, so like say in a
so they
water
don't
bottle or
break
something,
away like that,
or they start dissolving or whatever it is.
So you've got a breakdown of plastic. So let's just say, I don't know, someone said a bucket. Okay, from the minute that bucket is made, because of the level of fortification in it, which is not a lot, and the other chemicals that it's made with, eventually it just starts breaking down. Greenhouse gases go into the environment, nanoparticles are in the air. We're eating, swallowing, breathing microplastics.
So the plastic is not fortified, which means made stronger.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, in a sense, kind of dissolving or breaking down. So say in a water bottle, say you have a bottle of water, you'll have microplastics in that.
Absolutely.
Which could be made out of all sorts of chemicals.
Oh, yeah.
Which we are now ingesting and then sticking to bits in our body, which is probably one of the reasons why there's so many autoimmune and things like that disease.
I would never, ever drink water from a plastic bottle anymore.
Really?
Because obviously the leaching of the plastic, where it's not made correctly, is going into that water. We can't see it with our our eye, we're talking about nanoparticles. You can't see them. So we're digesting it because whatever's in that bottle, that chemical, is going into the water and we're just drinking it.
So your thing would actually allow, because plastic takes years to break down.
It does.
First of all, would it fortify the plastics properly so they don't leak? And then would it allow them to biodegrade quickly?
Yeah. So the first
things,
both things it does, yeah. So one thing it does is it allows you to recycle the same product 20 times.
Without it leaching?
Without. So that plastic, if it goes back in the bin and it's segregated, so we say, right, every plastic bottle you get now has to go into specific bins. When they're collected, as long as they have our technology inside, they can be recycled multiple times. Still keep their structure, still keep their level of fortification, nothing will go wrong, the fluid won't leach, the plastic won't leach into the fluid, so it will stay completely stable.
But then when you decide to then...
Once you put it under the ground... Yeah, well, it has to be, though, in a controlled environment. Right. So biodegradability only takes place when there are live microorganisms or fungi. They can only survive in certain climates, so it has to be between 42 and 65 degrees. If it goes above 65 degrees, then the microorganisms will die. Therefore, they won't be able to ingest the plastic. So... if it goes above the 65, the plastic will still degrade, but they'll take longer for the plastic to actually disappear for good.
So your technology, is it applied to the plastic as it's been made?
Yep.
And can it be applied after the plastic's been made if, for example, it's been, you know, it hasn't got the fortification or whatever it is? So any old plastic could go into this under the ground between 40 and 62, I think you said, degrees, and as long as it's got this stuff on it, it will degrade within 3 days to a week.
Yeah, well, what we did, we went out to India and did a trial in India because they've got so much like single-use plastic everywhere. It's chaos. So we took all of that single-use plastic, we then re-extruded it with our technology, and then we turned it back into very thin film, like you saw in the video with the plastic bags. Very thin film, yeah. And then that in turn goes under the ground into that controlled environment.
Digger on screen going on.
You've got the digger on screen. So that plastic that's in there now, that's been re-extruded with single-use plastic that we collected.
It's just been remelted.
Yeah, so remelted, re-blown. Yeah. So they blow it, actually.
Turn it back into plastic, one piece of plastic.
Put it back under the ground in that controlled environment. Less than a week later, it's gone.
Wow. Wow. Well, what about the plastic in the sea? You couldn't apply that to the sea, it would dissolve.
You can't, because people keep saying they can do this, and they might have a solution for plastic to be made. Say it's from starch, because you can make plastic from starch. I don't know if you know that, but you can. So it's a form of plastic. So this is what they're talking about, plastics being made from starch. That goes into the sea, that will dissolve. But the thing is, what about the chemicals that's in there with them? What's that going to do to the ocean life? In turn, if it's going into fish and we're eating it, what's it going to do to us?
It would need to be fished out of the ocean. We need to get the plastic.
It's all got to come out.
Take it out and then put it, melt it all back down, put it under the ground type thing, 40 to 62 degrees, and then come back 3 days or to 1 week later, and it'll be dissolved.
Yeah. It'll be gone. That's the technology that we come up with. Well, obviously, it's obvious the scientist that I work with is Dr. Joe Webster. He's in America from North Carolina. He's been doing this for like 50+ years. He is one of the best polymer scientists in the world, and he was there when plastic was being created. So then he decided to reverse that and do it in such a way that you was going to be able to sort of like have a bottle on the shelf in the supermarket for 3 years. But as soon as that's taken away and it goes under the ground in that environment, it will go. Wow. And not only will it just go, there is another mechanism that occurs. So from the microorganisms digesting the plastic, it actually creates a hydrogen mechanism that decontaminates the soil.
Wow, wow. So it's a win-win.
It's a win-win for everybody.
So this is an exclusive, a TV exclusive. This is your first. And I'm sure there'll be people listening going, no, really, no. Linda has proved this technology. You've got all the scientific things to back it, to say it works.
Yeah.
So that's the verification that we have here, and it's been approved.
It's been approved, it's certified. We've done it with universities. Obviously, it's been certified in America. because that's from where it first ever came. And then me working with Joe, he handed me the technology so that he could leave a legacy and for me to make sure that it gets everywhere that it's supposed to get.
So is it certified here in the UK?
It's certified here in the UK. It's certified all over the world. It's FDA, EPA, REACH approved.
Wow.
So it's very, very safe.
Wow. Well, Linda Ball, I'm sure lots of people wanting to find out more about this. This could be a real game changer.
Well, it is the solution to plastic pollution. That's what it is.
Are there any big names getting involved to help you that you can say?
Well, not helping me, but I mean, I don't want his help, but yeah, I mean, we're going to be using the technology in Tesla parts moving forward.
Wow.
So you can imagine that will be a start, but also we've just contracted a very, very big company come to us and asked us to make 1 billion bottles. We're making those 1 billion bottles, and those bottles are for the beauty industry.
Wow.
But they will go under the ground, they will disappear, and, you know, it will be better than what's happening now.
Can I be your friend, Linda?
I thought you already was.
Thank you, Linda Ball. Incredible. Really incredible. Let's see if we can change the face of the earth.
Well, we need to do it for many different reasons. Come on, you know, we could take all the rubbish that comes out of the NHS, reconstitute it and turn it back into their products. That's what needs to be done. That's the real way to create a circular economy.
Well, that sounds incredible. It almost sounds too good to be true, but it's been certified.
Oh, no, it's been certified. It's a proven technology that's been around for a very long time, but obviously it's so disruptive to other industries because they're making cheap plastic. It's a throwaway world.
They don't want that.
They don't want it to come out.
There's a lot of things they don't want to come out. Linda Ball, thank you very much. Really good to talk to you.
You are welcome.
That is Linda Ball. Fantastic creation. She hopefully could help to change the face of plastic in the world. Wouldn't that be incredible? An exclusive here on GB News. Right, it's 33 minutes after 5 o'clock. You're with me. I'm Nana Akua. Coming up next, it's time for our last great British debate of this hour. And I'm asking, should the man who burned the Quran have had his conviction overturned? Well, my panel will be joining me on that, Lizzie Cundy and Fahima Mohammed. But first, let's get your latest news headlines with Aaron Armstrong.
Thank you very much indeed, Nana. It's 5:34. Good evening to you. Our headlines. Hundreds of thousands of pro-Palestinian protesters have been marching through central London. They're calling for lasting peace in Gaza, a day after the ceasefire agreement came into effect. A small number of arrests have been made after counter-protesters from Stop the Hate breached conditions set in place to keep the two demonstrations apart. Tens of thousands of displaced Palestinians have been returning to areas reduced to rubble in northern Gaza after the Israeli military announced a ceasefire. A 72-hour countdown has now begun for Hamas to free all living Israeli hostages, and Israel has begun transferring prisoners to two jails ahead of their release as part of Donald Trump's plan. It's understood Sir Tony Blair met with the convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein in Downing Street while he was Prime Minister in 2002. The meeting was set up and brokered by Lord Mandelson. If you're travelling to Europe this weekend, get ready for delays of up to 4 hours as a new biometric border check system will be coming into force. And new estimates show almost 2.5 million people in Britain ordered weight loss jabs in July, compared to 500,000 last year. Those are your headlines, but we'll have more on all of those stories at the top of the next hour.
Tune into GB News Radio wherever you are, online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Hello again and welcome to your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. The dry spell continues for most of us as we go through into Sunday. There will be one way of fog developing tonight where skies stay clear. And for northern Scotland, there's still going to be a bit of dampness around. That's courtesy of this weather front that's been bringing some rain through the day on Saturday, although it does fizzle away and high pressure brings a dry picture for most of us on Sunday. So still a little bit of rain at times across primarily the northern Isles of Scotland through the course of this evening. Otherwise, though, a dry evening to come. Some cloud around in places for quite some time, but the skies will generally tend to turn clearer as we go through the course of the night. But that will promote some mist and fog patches, particularly across Wales and the Midlands. But I wouldn't want to rule any fog out pretty much wherever skies do turn clear. And in the clearest conditions, we could well see temperatures dip low enough in the countryside at least to give a touch of frost in a few places. But probably too much in the way of cloud for much in the way of fog and frost across southern counties of England. We will run into more in the way of fog across Wales, the Midlands and the Vale of York, for example. And further north, there'll be quite a bit of cloud across Northern Ireland and Scotland. But where skies are clear, then there'll be some fog around first thing as well. Quite a bit of drizzle and light rain in the Northern Isles as well first thing, but that's tending to die out as we go through the course of Sunday. The fog will take quite a while to lift. It might not clear until lunchtime in some prone spots, but otherwise I am hopeful that on Sunday we'll see more in the way of sunshine, particularly across southern and central Scotland, northern England, Wales and the Midlands, but even across the south of England we should see a brighter day for most compared to on Saturday. And in that sunshine, highs of 17 or 18 degrees with light winds, that should feel pleasant enough for mid-October, but a little bit cooler further north. Any drizzle will die out across Shetland as we go into Sunday evening. And once again, Sunday night is going to be dry for most of us, although we will see more in the way of cloud coming back in from the North Sea across parts of England and Wales. So a cloudy week of weather to come. The best of any brightness generally across the north and the west, and temperatures around average for the time of year.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Welcome aboard. This is GB News. Some breaking news. Former Lost Prophets singer Ian Watkins has died after being attacked in Wakefield Prison, West Yorkshire. Now, that happened this morning while serving a 29-year sentence for child sex offences that has been confirmed by some sources. So just to repeat that breaking news, former Lost Prophet singer Ian Watkins has died after being attacked in Wakefield Prison in West Yorkshire this morning whilst he was serving a 29-year sentence for child sex offences that has been confirmed by some sources. Right, well, it's 39 minutes after 5 o'clock. If you just tuned in, this is GB News. We are Britain's news channel. It's time for the Great British Debate this hour. And I'm asking, should the man who burned the Quran have had his conviction overturned? Well, Hamit Koskan burned the religious text outside the Turkish consulate in February this year and was sentenced in June for a racially aggravated public order offence. Now, this conviction was overturned yesterday, with free speech campaigners hailing the result, but should it really have been overturned? So, for the Great British Debate, I'm asking, should the man who burned the Quran have had his conviction overturned? Well, joining me now, my panel, broadcaster and columnist Lizzie Cundy and political commentator Fahima Mohammed. Fahima.
Well, you know my answer to this. I think, look, it's not about blasphemy laws. It's not about taking away free speech. Being of a particular faith, whether even of no faith, atheist as well, is a protected characteristics under the Equalities Act and law. So we need to understand when these things are being done in a public space, it is not political. He could have burnt the Turkish flag. He could have, spoken to the consulate in that way. But what he did was provocation, and it was actually, attacking and demonizing an entire group of Muslims. It wasn't just burning the Quran. It was actually shouting and chanting that we are all terrorists and, F Islam and things like that. And it was in a public space. And I'm not condoning what he's done, nor the person that attacked him. But I do feel that under the public law order, it should have been held and it should have been kept in that way, because it will just fall in line with, not falling into sort of like hate speech and having no consequences for it. And I think if the same thing was done for a Torah or for a Bible, there should have still been the outrage and it should not have been overturned.
But it's not illegal to do that, you see. If, however, they'd burnt a Turkish flag outside the Turkish embassy, the result could have been different because that could be seen as provocation.
Technicality.
So, as a technicality, that would have probably been illegal. But what he did, whilst I think it's disrespectful, very disrespectful, to burn anybody's Bible or anybody's book or anybody's flag, I think it's disrespectful. It's not very nice. It's just a bit provocative, but it's not illegal. Should he have had it overturned?
Yeah, he should have had it overturned without a doubt, and at last common sense prevails. And I'm just sad that Lucy Connolly didn't get this judge that was put away for 31 months for a tweet. Yeah, but Nana, look, this is the thing. Look, I don't believe in burning, you know, say the Bible, the Quran, the flags, anything like that. Of course not. But people do have a right for freedom of speech, and just because you're offended doesn't make it.
It's not about offence.
Yeah, but would you feel the same? Can I ask? Would you feel the same if a Muslim burnt the Bible? Would you be,
Yes, I would actually, and I think a lot of Muslims would, because we actually have the similar sort of prophets as the Christians as well as the Jews, and people don't realise that. It's that it's only been seen in one sort of incident, and it's not even about Muslim. It is about the fact that it is a public sort of outrage and a provocation, and it happened same thing in Europe, where they were criminalised for burning the Quran. It is demonising, criminalising, and inciting in an entire group, which again is a protected characteristic in the UK law. Because UK law, you can argue, you can judge, you can determine certain things with certain ways. And Lucy Connolly, I'm sorry, she pleaded guilty. She was actually saying that what she did was wrong. She actually, I don't know why
she took the tweet down and said she was sorry. Yeah, but we've seen there is
Context matters.
If I can talk, there is two-tier justice system
isn't.
Going on.
You don't understand the law.
Yes, there is. There are many aspects of it. We've seen Keir Starmer. You know, Lucy Connolly is just a well-known. There are many other cases of people doing just for hurty words, getting the police turn up on their house. Well, read the news, you'll see it. It's fact.
I've seen that, but you're not hearing and seeing the whole picture. I understand law very well when it comes to it.
I understand law.
And then the whole picture's not there. Just like how when people are saying, oh, you know, migrants are sent back because of only nuggets. No, it's because the child had some, you know, sort of ways in which they had health conditions. They had health conditions. They had health conditions. I read the transcript of that.
Can I just stop you there?
No, I'm sorry, that's wrong.
No, it's my show. I'm going to stop you. Let's not bring in chicken McNuggets. Let's stick with the flag. So let's stick with that, because otherwise...
OK, but even still, I'm saying there are always snippets that are taken out of context in law.
That was a joke.
They are not.
People are laughing at us, that example you've just used.
They are not.
I'm sorry, Keir Starmer,
but that wasn't the real reason, though.
He can send police round for hurty words, yet himself can send loads of insults, left, right and centre, at Nigel Farage. Even David Lammy said he flirted with the Nazi youth. Yet, you know, they won't have the policemen turn up on their door, will they? So they're very different rules, and that's what is the injustice.
Well, you know what? People on the far left will even say the same thing, because they also have had, you know, people that are coming up and just holding placards, not even inciting anything, not saying anything. There are old people, old English white people that have been, you know, taken away and arrested, and they will even call for two-tier
So you agree with Gary Neville, what he said about the
flag?
So you agreeing with Gary Neville, what he said about the flag?
I think there's a proportion. I think there's a proportion of people that may come across in that way that are angry and are using it as to others. OK, that's how it is.
You say that about anything.
But that's true about everything as well.
Exactly. So that's not really. All right. Listen. What do you think? GBNews.com/. I think that he shouldn't have really been arrested for that. But at the end of the day, you know, it was provocative. It was an unwise thing to do, and he's hedging his bets. Not a good look for this country, but we don't tend to behave like that anyway. But there is a freedom of speech. Right, coming up next, my quickfire quiz where I test the panel on some of the other stories this week. But first, if you're in search of some holiday sun, here is the forecast.
Dinner under the stars tonight?
That reminds me of our travel insurance.
You mean all clear skies?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Storm Alice continues to bring heavy thundery rain to eastern parts of Spain, including the Balearics. Some places could see 50 to 100 millimetres of rain in just a few hours, and these totals will continue to build up for a little while yet. Eventually it is going to ease and clear away, and actually elsewhere there's a lot of fine sunny weather across much of southern Europe as we go through Sunday and into the beginning of next week. Owens in the sunshine, feeling pretty warm. See you later.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact is Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
Right, let's do it. It's time for the Quickfire quiz, the part of the show where I test the panel on some of the other stories hitting the headlines. I'm joined by broadcaster and columnist Lizzie Cundy. Your buzzer, please. Political commentator Fahima Mohammed. Your buzzer, please. Right, let's do this, please. Along at home. Question 1, multiple choice. What miniature toys did the King and Queen receive on a visit to a community hall in Aberdeenshire? Was it A, a doll's house of Buckingham Palace, B, troll dolls with from themselves, or C, Lego versions of themselves? Lizzie Cundy.
Lego versions of themselves, C.
A. What is it? Doll's house of Buckingham Palace?
Yeah.
All right, let's see. The answer is C, Lego versions of themselves. Come on, a doll's house of Buckingham Palace. What are you thinking, woman?
Can I say we need to see them because they're hilarious?
All right, well, hopefully we have a picture of them, but we don't. Question 2, open question. Which Canadian pop superstar filmed an impromptu music video in a Dundee pub? Come on, quick.
Canadian superstar.
Press the buzzer. Come on. 5, 4, 3, say anything. 2.
Think.
Go on.
Miley Cyrus, I don't know.
She's not Canadian, is she?
No, she's not.
OK, nothing from you is nil point. Justin
Oh,
Bieber.
Justin Bieber, of course. And
How can I forget that?
I know his mother.
Oh, you know everyone. Right, question 3. Closest answer wins. How many bricks are there in the Empire State Building? Come on, quick.
2 million.
Billion. Billion.
OK, the answer is 10 million bricks. You can't take that one. Question 4, true or false? MTV is to stop showing rolling pop videos in the UK.
Yes.
True.
True. Yes, I remember it.
Should have said false just in case, but it is
No,
true.
it is true.
The world's first 24-hour music broadcaster, which is to stop showing rolling pop videos in the UK. Why? Question 5, multiple choice. What form of tax did Tory leader Kevin Badenoch now vow should banish for the Conservatives to win? Inheritance tax, VAT on private schools, or stamp duty?
Stamp duty.
Absolutely correct.
Duty.
All right, for the Great British Debate, I've been asking, is it time for the pro-Palestine protest to end? According to the poll, 98% of you say yes, of course you do. 2% of you say no. Thank you so much to my brilliant panel, broadcaster and columnist Lizzie Cundy,
thank you,
political commentator Fahima Mohammed, and a huge thank you to you at home for your company. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow, same time, same place at 3. Up next, it is the fabulous, inevitable Saturday 5.
Hello everybody, it's me, Dr. Renee, and I'm in the driving seat again tonight. We've got a fantastic show for you ahead. We're going to be talking about digital ID again because Starmer's doubled down. President Trump, should he have got that Peace Prize? Kai says reform are not fit to govern. We've got so much to talk to you about tonight. Stay with us, tune in, and we might have Kai doing something special tonight again. But before we do that...
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello again and welcome to your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. The dry spell continues for most of us as we go through into Sunday. There will be one way of fog developing tonight where skies stay clear. And for northern Scotland, there's still going to be a bit of dampness around. That's courtesy of this weather front that's been bringing some rain through the day on Saturday, although it does fizzle away and high pressure brings a dry picture for most of us on Sunday. So still a little bit of rain at times across primarily the Northern Isles of Scotland through the course of this evening. Otherwise, though, a dry evening to come. Some cloud around in places for quite some time, but the skies will generally tend to turn clearer as we go through the course of the night. But that will promote some mist and fog patches, particularly across Wales and the Midlands. But I wouldn't want to rule any fog out pretty much wherever skies do turn clear. And in the clearest conditions, we could well see temperatures dip low enough in the countryside at least to give a touch of frost in a few places. But probably too much in the way of cloud for much in the way of fog and frost across southern counties of England. We will run into more in the way of fog across Wales, the Midlands and the Vale of York, for example. And further north, there'll be quite a bit of cloud across Northern Ireland and Scotland. But where skies are clear, then there'll be some fog around first thing as well. Quite a bit of drizzle and light rain in the Northern Isles as well first thing, but that's tending to die out as we go through the course of Sunday. The fog will take quite a while to lift. It might not clear until lunchtime in some prone spots, but otherwise I am hopeful that on Sunday we'll see more in the way of sunshine, particularly across southern and central Scotland, northern England, Wales and the Midlands, but even across the south of England we should see a brighter day for most compared to on Saturday. And in that sunshine, highs of 17 or 18 degrees with light winds, that should feel pleasant enough for mid-October, but a little bit cooler further north. Any drizzle will die out across Shetland as we go into Sunday evening. And once again, Sunday night is going to be dry for most of us, although we will see more in the way of cloud coming back in from the North Sea across parts of England and Wales. So a cloudy week of weather to come. The best of any brightness generally across the north and the west, and temperatures around average for the time of year.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
There's just 3 weeks left to see how you could be our biggest winner this year. First, you could be driving away with this brand new Benamar Primera motorhome. This luxury vehicle comfortably sleeps 4, has its own fitted kitchen and bathroom areas, and comes complete with fitted awning and bicycle rack. And that's not all, as we'll also give you a whopping £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry